welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our post-league time pre-show. You've just been serenaded by Josh's musical choice. I'm sure a lot of you are very happy about it. It's very, very good. But welcome. This is the pre-show to the LCS premier LCS analysis show right after the LCS. I'm Scarra. I've been here a long time. You know the deal. This is Josh, my co-host. What's the deal?
That was like the funniest thing ever. When I put that one anime song, oh my god. I was like sitting over in front of the computer cracking it. Hold on, I gotta turn this light on.
Oh, we needed both. I had no idea. I thought you just wanted to do one.
Holy moly, that was so funny. And then I saw someone say like K-pop in the chat, and I was like, alright, I got you, whoever said that. But yeah, today's Sunday is the regular season is finally over. And it ended in the most typical NALCS fashion possible.
Today was just like, I usually fall asleep during like semi-bad games when I already watch it. Today I was just like, I couldn't fall asleep, and I was like just really sad because we had some really, really bad games today.
Well, here's the thing.
Really?
Like, when a game is bad, you know, it isn't like a car crash. It's not just done, right? It's a car crash that takes 70 minutes to play out in this case. It's like, and you're like, oh my god, it can't keep getting worse than this, can it?
I'm usually okay if like you're a team that like sucks early game, they can't close. And then, like, you do some crazy stuff, and you're like, oh my god, ᵐᵉ, you insect that guy, you're so good, but you guys can't team fight, so I guess you lose in 30 minutes. But it's like the games that go, like, where you're playing against two teams that can't end, and you're just like, oh my god, please no.
It's actually the worst thing ever. Oh, wait.
Is my timer at 14 hours?
It's at 13 and a half hours.
Whoops. Yeah. It's not like I dislike Indy or Dignitas or Immortals or CLG, any of the four teams. I'm just a fan of the best team in the world, TSM. So it's really hard for me.
I was like going to say something, and then after that, I'm just like,
what? Hard for me to really appreciate games from lower quality teams.
Oh god, dude, those games were really, really hard to watch. I mean, it was just like back and forth, like, hey, you win the game. No, you win the game. No, you. It's like two really, really polite teams just being like, no, you deserve the win. Turns out neither of them deserve.
Yeah, it turns out the only person who everyone lost, and the viewers are the people who lost the hardest.
This is how League of Legends dies, by the way, when every game goes to 70 minutes and the viewers just lose every time.
I'm hoping, like, the overall quality of the season, like, the worst thing is, like, going to week 4, you're just like, oh, God, some of the games are so bad. Yeah. And, like, week 5, 6, 7, you're like, okay, even, like, the teams that aren't that great are, like, putting up good games. Like, they're ending quickly. They're, like, cool. There's a lot of action. Like, even some strategy here and there. And then going to week 9, you're like, oh, wow, everyone's improved. Everyone's looking good. Like, it's sharp. I like it. And then the actual week 9 happens. And the last day of the week is just, like, the most miserable games. Like, this has got to be one of the longest days of the season. And as a spectator, I just want to let you know, I just really love League of Legends, especially after today.
I can't believe we had 2 different games today that went on to 70 minutes. 2 different. Oh my god! Like Dig vs Immortals, I was like, this has got to be the worst thing ever. And you know, honestly, this is what happens when you put teams in a situation where like they're too scared to fuck up, right? Like. It happens all the time, I feel like, in promotion tournaments where, like, games go really long, someone picks Ziggs or whatever, and they're just like, we just can't lose here. We just can't lose.
The relegation king Ziggs?
Yeah.
I remember that was, like, Shifter's, like, baby. It was like, all right, we're going to lose this game? Pick me Ziggs. Easy win. And then, like, at, like, the 50-minute mark, he has 6 items, just, like, kills everyone.
Oh, God. It's just the worst. And I don't know. I just wish teams had more balls to just, like, go and initiate. Go all in, you know?
I mean, I don't think it was good for CLG to try to initiate against that team.
No,
but I also think they stalled it out for way too long.
Maybe, like, 40 minutes too long. I don't know.
It's all right. You know what? Let's move off of League of Legends. I've had enough about League until Mark gets here. Let's talk about the real deal. The best. What is the original esport that everyone thinks of? What's the first esport you think of?
I mean, most people think of Brood War.
That's what I'm talking about. StarCraft Remastered is coming out apparently sometime this summer, and
I'm actually excited about it. So recently I watched like a like an esports montage thing, and Brood War came up, and I was like, God damn, Brood War looks like shit in today's like standards.
Yeah,
right?
it looks really bad.
And so when I saw the announcement for it, I was like, oh, well, this looks kind of interesting. And like back when StarCraft first came out and was getting big, I never got really into the competitive scene, but it was like me and my friends would play it on LAN, and we would just like, you know, mess around, try to get to like 200 unit cap, and just like throw battle cruisers at each other, right? But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll play it again. I have no idea.
I love, like, I was a person who like found esports through Brood War.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like even like my name, like the way that I got Scarra was because like I looked at like a lot of the other Korean pro names, and I was just like, I like their names because they're like low syllable names. For the most part, you got people like Moon, like people like Boxer. Boxer was someone I was just like, oh, that's 2 syllables. It comes out the tongue well. It's so nice. And so I was like, oh, Scarra. Like I shortened a bunch of my stuff. And I was like, Scarra. There we go. That sounds okay. Not as good as Boxer, but you know, I'm never gonna be as big as him anyway, so it's all right. So like a lot of my inspiration for like competitive gaming comes from like watching like players like Boxer play Fireback Hero.
Yeah.
I watched the early seasons of GSL with in StarCraft 2. I watched older stuff. Like
how long ago was this? Because
it was like when I was in middle school.
Yeah, geez.
It was 10 years ago, something like that. It was crazy.
God damn.
But I started with Brood War, and like I'm kind of happy it's coming back. But the other thing is, it's not, StarCraft isn't the only game where the expansion was like the worst version of the game, or the worst competitive version of the game.
You think Brood War was worse than the base game? Wait, what?
No, StarCraft 2, I should say. We're like StarCraft 1 was considered like the pinnacle of RTS strategy competitive wise.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then StarCraft 2 came out, and people were just like, what is this garbage? Yeah. Like, this is just so bad.
Wait, Protoss are just way too good.
Yeah, and it's like, this is just terrible to watch. Like, Blizzard, you had this idea, and then you messed it up.
Yeah.
And then, can you think of another game that does that? A game that maybe you're very passionate about?
Oh god! I mean, the obvious parallel here is Melee and
No, it's Brawl and Smash 4 because Brawl is actually the highest level of competitive fighter.
You cannot say those words. That is actually blasphemy.
It's the best Smash game ever invented. And to be honest, Josh just completely agrees. He loves tripping. In fact, like some days he just trips just because he feels like it. I love
tripping, man. That's confirmed on Scarra's stream. I love tripping.
And so Brawl, I just hope that one day they remake Brawl into the game that it always deserved a remake for.
God, I will say though that Subspace Emissary, I think that's what it was called. It was like the one-player mode out of Brawl was sick. But aside from that, God, I can't believe that they tried so hard to make the game like non-competitive that way. It was like the worst thing ever. I don't know. Brawl's terrible. All the other Smash versions are great. Like I think Smash 64 is pretty cool. I love Melee. I think Project M is pretty cool. I think Smash 4 is all right.
No, he doesn't. It's only
never mind. It's all about Brawl.
It's only Melee. Love Meta Knight. This guy is a Melee like purist. Like legit, he thinks it's unethical to play other Smash games. If you're either playing Melee or you're not playing that Smash game.
I'm not going to say that. I've never said that in my life. I think Smash 4 is a perfectly fine, okay game, but Melee is amazing. Also, someone was asking if how you should start playing Magic the Gathering. Just buy like a dual deck. Those are pretty sweet. Anyways, I got distracted because when I see the word Magic the Gathering or Melee, I'm just like, oh, what? What'd you say?
Yeah. No, but I actually think it'd be really cool. This is obviously like everyone's been looking for it. It's like, oh, so what are they going to announce with the Switch? And you see like all the Smash players tune in. They're just
I know.
Their hands start sweating.
Yeah.
It's like
everyone's like salivating. They're like, okay, what are they going to announce? All right.
They announced a Zelda game, but the Smash players are like, okay, that means that means it potentially another game
like
can come
Link
out.
and Zelda and Sheik are all in Smash. All right.
And then the entire Nintendo Direct comes through, and then there's nothing. And then people get so desperate they start photoshopping like Smash.
Oh my god!
Smash into like
seeing all those screenshots.
The fake Smash screenshots of like future Switch games. And people were like eating that stuff up. They're like, oh my god, it's actually happening. And D1's just like, nah, I'm just kidding, guys. This is fake. Are you serious? Who actually believes this?
I'm so sad. Damn, everyone's trying to get my attention. I can tell because they're just writing the words Magic the Gathering and Melee in their sentences. But actually, if the Switch ever gets Melee imported to it in HD, or even if it's not HD, I would buy it immediately. Like, if they wanted me as a consumer to buy the Switch, that would be my breaking point. Like, 100%.
It'd be like, oh, but we marked up Melee to like $100. And Josh would
be like,
give me
whatever.
2.
God, I have legitimately 4 Wiis that have Melee, like, hacked into it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, you can't even say that.
Yeah, I can.
He means he legally bought Melee, and he has 4 different copies. I got your back, dude.
No, because like you can have emulators if you own the base game, and I own the base game, so. All right, now
maybe 4 original copies.
There's gonna be like police at the door, like, God damn it, Scarra, God damn it, had to bring Melee up. Oh God.
What is he main in Melee? He plays Falco.
Wait, what? I play Fox. Fox McCloud. He's my boy.
I'm gonna trigger him. It's like the same thing.
God damn it, dude! You're just trying to trigger me this entire time. But yeah, Fox is my boy. I play a lot of Marth and Captain Falcon as well. So yeah, yeah, we're gonna. Dude, God damn it! There's gonna be like helicopters outside. There's gonna be like some dude in a SWAT outfit coming through our window.
Oh, you have to have a real game and for only 1 ROM.
Oh, really? Is that only 1 ROM?
So, like I said, he has 4 real versions of the game.
I think I do have multiple versions of the base game. I know I have at least 2.
It's not think. That implies there's a chance you don't.
I do.
Trust, he does have
I definitely have 4
real copies. In fact, he has 5, just in case people ask. Just in case people find 5 emulators, he has 5. We covered all our bases.
Okay, no, we did. We have it recorded. I'm safe. Yeah, I'm definitely a meta slave as far as Melee and League goes. Like, basically anything that's like really good, I'm like, I want to play that.
Do you do that in League?
Yeah, kind of. Like,
I'm like the opposite.
Victor's meta, I'm like sick.
I'm the opposite of you. I'm just like, what's really bad? I'm gonna try to make this work. And then my stream is the one who gets like, who are just like, oh, I come to Scarra to watch off meta picks, and then they like started begging me to play meta. At some point, it's like, Scarra, can you please play Ari? Like,
can you please just stop losing?
Oriana, Ari, please. I don't want to watch you play Cho'Gath the 20th time. And I'm just like, dude, I really like Cho'Gath though, guys. And they're just like, please no. And I'm like, okay, you know what, dude? I won't play Cho'Gath this game. I'm just gonna play AP Nasus. And then the chat's just like, oh, it's just game over.
Yeah, I'm 100% a meta slave, and honestly, I think that's because like I don't play the game that much, so like. I don't want to have to like experiment to find something that I like playing. I'd rather just know what the good stuff is and just use my time to get good at those things, you know? No more AP Nasus. You heard it from the stream.
I'm the type of guy who like, I want to win, but I want to win in the fashion that I want to win in. I think there's like an archetype that like Magic has for those type of players. Isn't it? Like, I remember Magic invented archetypes for different people, right? That like they got like spikes.
Oh yeah, there's Johnny's.
Is it Johnny's or Jimmy's?
There's Johnny.
Okay, I'm thinking of Jimmy.
Johnny is like, you like the big, like, flashy effects, basically. And then there's like, oh wait, yeah, Johnny's like the combo player. And then Timmy is like, I like playing the really, really big dumb creatures, and I just want to swing. That's how that works.
Yeah. So Magic had like a good like archetype for like specific player genres and fantasies. Like, this type of player likes to win this way or play the game this way. Mm-hmm. And like, I just thought for League, I'm the type of player who like wants to win, but win under like my conditions, or like with my specific champions that I want.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And sometimes that aligns with the meta. Like sometimes like I'm the guy playing Talon, you know, every game. But sometimes it doesn't. And I'm the guy losing with Cho'Gath every game.
Yeah, I just I'm a Spike, man. At my core, I'm a Spike, but I'm also partially a Johnny. So that's kind of like my player profile for video games in general. Anyways, it's always tough to figure out like what I want to talk about on Sundays, because I feel like I exhaust everything on Saturdays. Like, I'm just like, what happened between Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, like really what happens is like Sunday's more off the cuff for us. It's not usually a big deal because Mark gets here very quickly. But today, Mark is like, I want to do a meeting about the promo games. I'm just like, okay, you hate us. And so because of that, usually we work a little bit to a bit off of chat questions. But all the questions today have just been like, who do you main in Melee? And, and then Josh, I'm just like, don't get started.
I mean, yeah, like if chat wanted to, like,
Don't get started.
Oh my god, I could talk about Melee and Magic forever.
Legit, it's like a test. We went to go eat like at a sandwich place nearby at Jersey Mike's, and we sat down, and Melee came up. And then 30 minutes later, we're still talking about Melee.
Yeah, we're like all done eating, and me and Mark are just like, yeah. So like Melee's really interesting because like Di makes this game mechanic in this way, and like Scarra and you are like, God, when are these guys gonna shut up?
I actually am kind of interested about it, but it's just like I know you can just talk forever. And to be fair, if you caught me with another person talking about League, I would just be there, like high level League. I'd just be like talking with them for like the whole day.
Yeah. Well, the main reason I don't want to talk about League right now is because those series were just so ugly. I can't wait for you guys actually to sum up that series.
I mean,
that series. And
I can because I take notes on every game essentially, and some games have like one line notes which are just like it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And so like for instance, I had a note today in the COG first game. I literally just said COG got
aced at 12 minutes.
Got aced at 13 minutes. It's a disaster. That's all my notes. And then, like, some of the other games, I'm just like, I don't remember the notes for today. Usually, it's only a problem Saturday. I have to, off the top of my head, remember everything that happened Friday. The same day, I don't remember what happened in the first series completely because the games are so long.
Yeah. It's pretty rough. For people who wanted to know what the anime song in the beginning was, it was the fourth opening to an anime called Bakemonogatari. Have you seen that one?
Wait, no, I have not. But I actually thought when you're putting on an anime song, the stuff you always would put on, and the stuff that like I think is the funniest, is you just put on Naruto openings.
Oh yeah.
Because actually, a lot of Naruto openings are so good.
They are actually so good because they. I like the ones by like Asian Kung Fu Generation. They do like a bunch of different openings for different animes, and they're always just like they're just bangers. They just like put out banger after banger after banger. They're so good.
Yeah, like I feel like that's the one that like people align with the most. Because even if you don't like anime, at some point you've dreamed to be a ninja. That's how I think. It's like
were you one of those idiots running around like this?
I'm not gonna say
I can run so fast.
I'm not gonna say I didn't try at some point during my life. I'm just gonna say it happened.
Do the Naruto run. Because we were talking about it.
No, let's talk about CLG Envy, the
no one will ever
in the history.
No one wants to hear about any of the series today. Like this was like the worst way to end the regular season to any LCS.
So in some ways it's the worst, and in other ways it is the most fitting way to end possible.
Yeah.
The split was fucking insane, and then we end on this 70-minute like, what the fuck am I watching game?
All right, but hello guys, MarkZ has arrived today.
God damn! Finally.
As a reminder, we are having our today on Sunday. We are having our last power rankings for the spring split. We'll be talking about where we think.
Down yet. This dude's ready to go. Get me out of here.
I'm just prepping the chat for when the show starts.
I thought you were starting, not waiting for me to sit down.
No.
Ready to get along with
my life. You take your time. You want to go use the restroom?
Yeah, can I actually just get some food first?
Yeah, go order. We'll wait 40 minutes with Josh, and then you can just come back.
Dude, yeah, I
I'm
can
gonna
talk
go to a
about
nice
anime,
sit-down
I
restaurant.
can talk about Magic. I can talk about Melee.
I can talk about CLG just the whole week. Anyways,
let's not do that.
Welcome to Post League Time. This is our LCS analysis show right after the LCS. Like I said before, we have our weekly power rankings, but on Sundays we go over all of Sunday's games, which are the 4 series that we played today, as well as do our weekly power rankings to determine where teams are. And usually you'd think on the last week, oh, that's really easy. You just copy the same one that Riot has up there, but it's gonna be different.
We will be different. I know for sure.
I know for sure one of mine is just...
One of mine is not there.
Absolutely. Anyways, I am Scarra. I introduced myself in the pre-show. You've heard the introduction way too many times. I'm joined by Mark. MarkZ, hit him with what you are. Who you are.
I am MarkZ, ᵐᵉᵐᵉ, former coach and analyst for Curse/Team Liquid, now content creator, do the Blame game most notably, and I'm on the Riot analyst desk. And I'm ready to talk some more about the games today because up until that last series, it was not that bad of a day.
What?
Dig Immortals you didn't think was...
Great series.
Oh my god.
I said not that bad of a day. Like, we're comparing, like...
I'm quitting this show.
I'm comparing fucking CLG Envy to that Dig Immortal series. When you compare the two, it's not that close.
The Dig Immortals series is suffering.
You thought it was that bad?
not as bad as the first Dig Immortals series. I just think they have this thing where they play against each other, and you just expect the games to be bad.
Right. I mean, so there were what? Was that the other one with the 60-minute game, right?
Yes. All right, but let's go down the list. What do we got first, Josh?
TSM versus P1.
TSM versus P1. So this was surprisingly a quick 2-0 for TSM. You would have thought that it would have been a much closer fought series, but kind of just like the C9 one, P1 kind of came out and laid an egg. They were messing around with their roster. They had Inori and Shadian, which I think most people would say where Stunt and Meteos. And they kind of just got rolled over. The bot lane tried to like run more aggressive stuff and kind of dominate the bot lane. And it was mildly successful, but still not able to keep up at all what was happening on the top side of the map. TSM crushed basically both games. So let's get into game one.
Okay, this is Scarra show. That's what it is.
Not the brand show? Are you sure it's not the support brand show?
Oh, he did well.
Yeah, I liked it.
I think that, well, let me first cover the point about Sven. Sven did great. It might have been that, honestly, like, it seems like Inori just kind of disrespected him. Like, he backed in the bush and then he died. That was, like, super random solo kill. And then he killed top lane and Sven just, like, made everything happen this game. Yeah. I thought that... okay, from last year's Worlds, his best champion was Lee. Teams just banned Lee against him every game. And I think going into playoffs, this might be something that you're looking into, because if you're looking at his effectiveness of his champion, his Rengar is like 80% there. I think his Lee is pretty good. It's like his best champion.
Right. I was going to say, his Rengar is good enough that you can't just like ban Lee and he becomes a non-factor.
Right.
I don't think his Rengar is like shit on the game, oh my god, but he plays it correctly, which is the big thing, because some people can't even do that.
He's got a lot better throughout the year.
For sure.
And I don't really want to talk more about the first game. You want to finish this off? Like,
yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the first game, just because I'm not sure what Shady's doing in the game. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? I think this is a big thing for P1, is the fact that Stunt did not get into the game. You saw him tweet out that like he thought he was going to play game 2. He was pretty pissed about that, or like clearly not happy. And then like Shady didn't look great, but you know Stunt didn't look good yesterday. So it might be the case where P1's bot lane's actually in more trouble than we realize. And I did like the idea of letting Arrow like carry the game harder with VAR as brand.
But they didn't lane that well.
Well, they took the turret relatively early on, didn't they?
The first game was really good.
Yeah, I'm talking about the first game. So the VAR's brand was the first game, where it was really good. They were crushing early. They took the turret. They got a lot of kills, and it looked like for the most part that strategy was working. The problem, like you said, was that Sven was popping off on the top side of the map, and then P1 just like Inori was not playing well, and they were all out of sync, and they kind of just lost that game. So I mean, I don't have that much to say outside that. It was like Phoenix won, go for an invade, and they would all like die.
Yeah, and I have like they died 2-0 a dragon.
Yep, like, TSM won a dragon fight. That's my last note I took too. Yeah, I was like,
that's game over. I think that it is really interesting to play Brand into Malzahar. I was told before by other support players that it is a soft counter pick, because they can just ulti and then it just does a ton of damage. Like, you're pretty much guaranteed damage to Void Lanes, and because if he ultis the AD carry, he's essentially sitting duck for all the damage that Brand deals, and Brand deals enough damage to actually kill someone by himself. And
I was a little surprised to see it into Ezreal, because he's one of the few mobile AD carries right now. Oh, actually, they're starting to come back a little bit more. You see Lucians and Caitlyn.
I think it's better against Ezreal because he can't shove as hard.
Sure.
So like the lane itself could they can actually like push in and pressure under tower. So I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was an interesting pick. Usually I like to see Brand the most against Kench, because it's like a strict hard counter to that type of melee champ. But
right.
But it was still, I thought, an interesting idea.
And it works well enough that it's not just like a kill lane. That's all it's good for. The passive of Brand does percent max health damage, so it's great for like dragons and barons and stuff like that. You actually have really good objective control with it. As well as just like, it's kind of one of those fire and forget supports where it's just like, all right, as they're coming in, I'm just going to use all my spells.
Right. It's really easy to play into divers for the most part. Someone asked if it's an idea that P1 was testing rosters since they're locked into third place. I think they care more about winning than that, but I don't know.
Game 1 versus C9, if I remember correctly, was Inori and was Meteos in Stunt. And then when they lost, they switched it up. And they brought in Shady, right? In the C9 series?
Yes.
So I think maybe today it was the case where they're just testing rosters. But I don't really like it. Yeah, it's the last week. Like, what are you testing, really? I mean,
maybe to getting Shady more experience is fine. And maybe, but do you need Inori to play both games? Do you need Shady to play both games? I would like to see a Meteos game just to see how they stack up.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case.
And I think the other thing, too, is like, when you look at C9, who swapped between Ray and Impact, I actually think that was a really strategic move because Ray is able to play carries into Zig, and you saw that in Game 1 they took the Kled and then they played it into a Nautilus, and then Game 2 they banned Nautilus and play, or they banned Kled and play Nautilus. So you see that there's two clear different strategies there. When you sub in Shady, like is support brand really like the trick that you're putting him in for?
I mean, what I also know him for is his Vel'Koz. He's like he's like the biggest. Him and Egg Salad are like the two Vel'Koz support players above Masters in A, and that's like all. That's what I know them for, actually.
Yeah, and like maybe you sub him in, and you have to keep him honest sometimes because the second game he played Karma. And you can't just sub someone in and be like, oh, they're playing the random shit ban his brand, Vel'Koz, he's useless. You have to keep him a little honest. So maybe that's what they were doing in the second game, just showing that like he will play other things. Don't think if we put him in a playoff series and we're losing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I
don't know.
Let's go to the second game. So the second game was really weird.
It was. You talk about TSM getting desperate. It was like they were winning and randomly desperate. Like Bjerg was trying so hard this game.
I mean, I don't even know if it was that so much. Oh wait, let's start at the very beginning. So the draft starts, and then TSM does something that no other team does in this one draft. They last pick their bot lane completely. Their bot lane does not get picked before the last two picks. In what league? In what team does this? Like seriously, what team? And so I was just curious. From the very beginning, I'm like, okay, so they're gonna get a counter pick for bot lane. Great. Like I understand the idea. Let's see if it works. Instead, they counter pick themselves, and I'm just like, they set up a lane to where it's a highly skilled volatile matchup. Where they instead of picking Caitlyn, they pick Kalista. And they try to outskill the matchup, and I'm just like, was that really necessary?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. So there were a lot of 80 carry bans. They banned Ez in the first rotation themselves as TSM, and then P1 takes Lucian blind right away, basically, and then they ban out Varus and Ashe in the second rotation, so Turtle has to play something else. We haven't seen him play Caitlyn yet, actually, so that might just not be in his wheelhouse, actually.
Yeah, maybe, but I just think it's really interesting because it's like, Caitlyn's the hardest counter-pick to Lucian. Like, if you want to stomp a lane, you just pick Caitlyn into Lucian, and the Lucian can't do anything. It's super hard.
But I think maybe that's just some scouting P1 did, where they're like, they haven't played Caitlyn yet. Really, we don't think Turtle's gonna play Caitlyn.
I mean, surprisingly enough, Arrow didn't smash his lane. Like I thought the laning itself just went kind of normal. Like his Lucian was actually pretty underwhelming.
Right, and so one thing he tweeted out yesterday was Arrow said, "Sneaky showed me how strong Lucian is. I didn't realize." And so he might not have had any scrim practice on Lucian, and like just had solo queue practice and played him today, which is like. It's believable.
It's a possibility.
Because he didn't look great on it. And he played like one teamfight skirmish well, though I was like, oh, he played that pretty well. But that was it.
Like, the way I saw the strategy of the game going in, okay, bot lane picks Caitlyn, and then they do what happens every time you pick Bjerg of Vlad, you just camp the mid lane. That's it. And then they started with the camp on the mid lane. They traded 1-for-1 with the Shen ulti, right? Not a big deal. And then it's like, so what happens next? You just re-gank the mid lane. He doesn't have, I don't think he has flash. They have no Shen ulti, and he snowball off Bjerg. But what ends up happening is they try to snowball off the Thresh Kalista lane, and it's super volatile. The other jungler's there, and they get like
counter gank.
Yeah, they get counter ganked. It's brutal, and then what ends up happening is Inori suddenly starts game 4-0. And I don't even think Inori played the game like super well early to deserve starting 4-0.
It felt just like really over aggression out of TSM, where like the mid dive and then that one, whereas it was like really telegraphed a little bit, where like what they're trying to do here, and it didn't work out. Real quickly, just because people are like, Turtle got a penta on Kate in season 3, that's fucking great. It's season 7. He hasn't played it this split so far, which is what I care about. And just because you played a champ in solo queue or you played it years ago in competitive doesn't mean you just rate it.
It's changed since then too.
But the game's changed. You might not be totally comfortable with it. You might not know the matchups quite right. So maybe you guys should shut up. Anyways,
Jesus.
No, I'm kidding. I love chat. I just like
Jesus.
I just like being mean to people. I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyways, moving on with this game, but like the Bjergsen overdiving thing happened like 3 times in this game. That's what I was saying, where it felt like I was like, why is he like trying so hard to make solo? And sometimes it worked.
Yeah,
it was just like
he solo killed the mid laner in like a hard matchup where I'm just like, oh, that's Ori favored after level 9, and I'm
he's
just
like,
no.
I
see. He saw the all-in time, and I was like, is this actually a kill timing? And he got it. I was like, oh my god, it is. I just thought that Bjerg's Vlad is insane.
Yep. And
I think that maybe a lot of the pressure is put on him because he has to trust Kalista to carry.
So I'm not sure. Maybe that's it. And like Bjergsen's actually been kind of ramping up over the course of the season, where like he started not super great.
He is very
and now he's like
on fire.
He's like
popping
off super hard now. And I don't know if it's the kind of thing where he's like, we're ramping up for playoffs. I need to actually be able to pop off on my own, and he's trying to push that more and more recently.
I think especially the champ pool that comes in are champions that he's really good at. Like, and he's known for signature stuff like Zed and stuff like that, but I think like his Vlad is super clean, like really, really, really good. And now it's kind of toward a Vlad like situation, and he looks like he's been playing a decent amount of Ahri. I think that it looks really good for them.
Yeah, I think that looks super good. Hanser looks great still. There's a lot of stuff you can play in the top lane besides tanks, though. He reverted a little bit more to tanks in the past 2 weeks. And then I was kind of surprised, given that like interviews were coming out of TSM where they're like, yeah, we could play tank tops every game and smash anyone, but we want to learn.
I think it's just Camille. Like, I think he's super comfortable on the Camille carry, and everything else like is Rumble, and that's it. Camille, Rumble, and
Camille Rumble that, but like he played Renekton as well, like yesterday versus TL, and like smashed with that. So I think you can generally play anything.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
I'm just surprised to see him on Nautilus a little bit more at the end of the season. I would have.
I think it's just TSM's comfort pick, where it's like, okay, we just put them on the new Maokai.
Yeah, it's the early blind pick tank, doesn't lose any matchup hard enough for you to be like, oh my god.
Yeah, and they trust Hanser to the front line because he's one of the best frontliners in North America.
Yeah.
But the game essentially worked out to where TSM had kind of got smashed early a little bit. Nori was up ahead. They rotated bot lane, top lane, got a double kill, and then
there were mid skirmishes.
Yeah, there's mid skirmishes all the time, and eventually they take a mid skirmish where TSM gets 4-for-1.
And the problem was, Nori fucked that fight up really bad. He had the Shen TPing in from behind, and all he needs to do is wait for the TP to finish.
He jumped in early, right?
No, he just walked too far forward, and Biofrost hooked him, and he pulls him in, and they're able to basically kill him. And he lived for like a little bit with the Shen help, but if Inori was like going in and resetting with like everyone else kind of playing around the outside, like they probably would clean that up. But he died.
Like I said before, like I don't necessarily like Kha'Zix too much at the moment. If you don't know how to teamfight with Kha'Zix, that champion looks like a liability going to.
I think he knew how to teamfight with him. He just got caught out.
Yeah,
he's just like a little rusty. Who knows?
Could be true. I mean, this series I wasn't particularly impressed by Shady. Wasn't particularly impressed by Inori. And TSM Bjerg looking great.
Yep.
And
Sven looking better as well.
Yeah, and then
Turtle was relatively good.
Turtle was okay. I don't have much to say about the series, honestly.
No, I don't either. It didn't feel like P1's whole heart was in it in terms of like really trying to win the series.
They're secured third.
Yeah, they were third 100%. The only thing was
they can't move.
If they beat TSM, they bump C9 up, which they might want to do if they prefer to play TSM.
They don't.
Which they don't. So they wanted to lose this game a little bit.
Yeah.
Because 3 plays 2 and 1 plays 4, assuming the bracket works out.
Exactly. So I'm just like, they had no incentive to win, and every incentive to like just be like, you know what? Shady, go in there and do your stuff.
Shady, how you doing today?
Yeah, you know what? I like seeing the Slim Shady stuff that people talk about. Get in there and just make it fun.
Those memes are pretty funny.
Yeah.
Get in there.
That's honestly how it felt to a little degree.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they sandbagged. I'm just saying like the game didn't really matter.
Right. All right. So now with Dignitas Immortals.
I guess for me,
it was a 2-game series, right? It was 2-0 for Dig.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. It wasn't as bad as CLG.
You're right. It wasn't bad because it was. Oh god. Okay. Well, I just think that one game was bad. The overall series.
Game 1 was awful. Game 1 was the hour game. Anyway, so Dignitas Immortals, super huge playoff game. Whoever wins this basically is guaranteed to make it into playoffs. Immortals still had like some weird chance based off if FlyQuest was able to win a game or not. Anyways, Dignitas 2-0s. They are very close games, very long games for the most part, but Dignitas just wins late game team fights overall. Game 2 was a 65-minute game.
No. Game 1 was...
Because I have our game in my Game 1 notes.
Game 1, because I circled game stalls till 45 minutes. I didn't add the assault to 60 minutes. Because I was just like, they're going to make something happen in 45. And I'm like, oh, wow, they didn't. It took 20 minutes for them to get a kill in the first game. There's a 20-minute stretch with 0 kills.
Yeah. All right, well... So obviously, Dignitas win games too. Both games, Dardoch was doing okay in the early game, but they weren't going crazy. They generally had early game strategies in terms of their picks. They were going to get outscaled most of these games. They didn't win in the early or mid game, and then they got outscaled in a lot of team fights and kind of outperformed as well. So Dignitas showed they were the better team.
The second game was actually a colossal throw by Immortals. I think
huge! Yeah,
it was like a 10K gold swing. And honestly, if you throw that like. That's the game where I was just like, this is your game to get in the playoffs, and you guys botched it. Like ridiculously hard. It was probably the biggest lead that was thrown this entire split.
In terms of like implications.
In terms of implications and even gold lead.
I don't know. There's been some big throws.
Oh, there might have been like a 12K one.
Yeah, there were some really big throws.
But 10K was.
I mean, regardless, this is like the most important series you're gonna play all year, like in terms of implications.
And I think, like Lod picked up a lot of kills, so he looked really good the second game. But that's essentially our overall coverage.
So we'll go back to game 1 real quick, and like I said, they were going for more early game strategy. So they had a Taliyah mid lane with like. A Lee Sin, and it's like supposed to clearly be like get your mid laner out of lane, moving around the map and try and get stuff done. For the most part, that didn't happen at all. Pobelter was really controlled by Keen, and like once Chaser dove and they got a kill, and then one time Keen tried to dive on his own, he got turned around on by Pobelter. But there was even all of today, every Taliyah that we've seen recently has not like gotten on the map with her ultimate. It's been kind of disappointing.
I think a lot of that might be because most of the Taliyah play we're seeing is from Piglet.
That's a big part of it for sure.
But
that's a very big part.
I agree. Like a lot of the Taliyah ultis are not great. Like I think it just takes because the thing about Taliyah is not only do you have to be have really strong mastery of the champion, your team has to know how to play with her as well. It's like definitely a champion where like abusing angles is really, really important.
And for the most part, he was under pressure for a lot of the game as well. Like he was kind of getting pushed in by the Cassio, so it made sense why he couldn't just like push and roam that easily. And he did have a really early roam actually at like the 2v2 bot lane that they showed up for and was able to turn some kills.
I was actually I thought Pope's Taliyah was pretty good. He was able to flash follow up on a lot of CCs for his team. I thought it ended up pretty well. The problem I had this game was like
Dardoch?
Yeah. Like for instance, okay, their bot lane gets a solo kill, great. Their bot lane, Immortal's bot lane's development over display has been great. They've turned into a top 5 bot lane in general, and they're probably looking more around top 4, top 3, actually.
They look good.
They look really good in lane. And so what happens when they get the solo kill? Dardoch comes bottom, I'm going to make this hero play, and they try to like ward
It wasn't even him who made the most hero play. It was Ole, which is the sad part.
With the flash Q?
Yeah, with the flash karma.
And like he had to like go over, like they just both went crazy for it.
Right.
And it's like
that's the Immortals way though.
It's like if they could just like calm themselves, like they have lanes that can get leads, and they have like a working enough like a strategy that they can win with.
And it was so brutal too because the wave was pushed back and they were sitting in the brush, and like Dignitas's bot lane had to walk up and they're just sitting there. And it was really cute by Dardoch because he ward hopped in trying to bait the flash because they knew he still had it. And they were like, all right, I'll bait the flash with my ward hop and then take my Q because he had the Q on him. He didn't take the bait, jumps over.
Yeah, and a lot of the teams that we're seeing struggling with late game are just like teams that like don't effectively control vision around places.
For sure.
So a good example is like the way that Pobelter actually. The Immortals start slipping this game. It's like Pobelter gets caught at Baron, right?
Yep.
They're all stacking on bushes, and Pobelter just gets like picked.
He's off on the side, like they're all kind of in river, and he's like aggressively on the enemy side, and then he just gets blown up, and it's like, all right, well, there's your Taliyah dead.
And that that happened to like a decent amount of Taliyahs this week, but that's the biggest thing is like when you see other better teams do objective control. It's like very obvious, they're looking to bait and they're all stacking here, and the other team has no idea, and it's very dangerous for the other team. And when other teams like Immortals or Dig do stuff, sometimes the vision just isn't there or the control isn't there. Either they lack the ability to shove mid lane, or they just don't lack the ability to like just sweep and like know where to stand.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like mid late game that was the problem. Like Immortals got like killed at the Herald pit as well. Like I don't know, do you call it the Baron pit or the Herald pit?
I guess Herald pit. Well,
the Herald
it's
pit.
Alive.
Anyways, yeah, they got fucked up by Herald. Herald was like, "Get the fuck out of my house!" Bullied them a little bit. The game overall was just back and forth for the most part. Like Immortals should have won this game based off their bot lane's pressure early, and then Dignitas should have won that game based off like some skirmishes in the mid game, and then it took them forever to actually win the game.
The period of time where there was 20 minutes without a fight, it just seemed that no team wanted to really commit into something that could have been terrible for the team, and they didn't control places well enough to be able to force the other team to make a mistake, and so it just stalled out for 25 minutes, which is why it was really.
It was painful.
It was a painful.
It was a painful game. Let's not dwell on the pain. Let's move forward into a brighter day in game 2. Brighter for some people, if you're a Dignitas fan.
Game 2, Dardoch gets a solo kill, or helps get a kill top lane.
Yep.
Great. First Blood King, kind of. And then bot lane, they get, I think, another duo kill.
It was like a 2 for 2 overall, wasn't it?
But that's because Dardoch kills himself.
Right, but I'm saying like it was all bot pressure, but it was ended up at
it's like Immortals bot lane wins and then Dardoch does something where he kills himself again, and I'm just like, oh god, not this again. But the thing is, he bounces back, so he does like a bad play bot lane, and then he just starts getting the ball rolling for his whole team.
Kind of, because there was a 16-minute thing where he just gets picked right in front of Baron or Dragon Pit. He dies, and his team tries to fight a 4v5. And then they lose that horribly, like a 3-for-1 over a 4-for-1 overall, and they lose Dragon, and then he bounced back.
I will say up until that point, maybe not so much, but they bounce back like super hard.
Yeah, Belcher goes nuts.
Yeah, this is a situation where you're looking at the game and you're just like, there's no way Immortals can lose. Because they have entire lead of the game, they have a 10, 11k gold lead, and it's really hard for the enemy team to even do anything. If it's a even fight, if the fight's even a 4v5...
Not hard for someday, dude.
All right, what made Someday great this series? This game?
What made Someday great this game was he's like the reason that they didn't lose. So like you said, Immortals has a 10k like advantage. I think they had Baron at the time. Pobelter's like split pushing up top. They're grouped up 4 mid. And then like to start things off, Someday hooks in Dardoch. Okay, they disengage, not the target they want. And then like Cody Sun walks a little bit too far forward. He lands the Nautilus ultimate, which clears the path for him to hook in Cody. He insta-dies. And then Pobelter tries to come flying in from the back, whiffs his ultimate, gets nothing done, gets focused down, and then Dignitas is able to... actually, Baron wasn't quite up yet. They were just pushing normally because they win this fight, they push down mid, they grab Elder Dragon, then they go to Baron. Immortals tries to contest the Baron, and then they all die, and they lose the Baron as well.
For me, this game, like, it just felt like I won't even say chaotic game. Everyone just got picked off at random times. It's like you're watching solo queue, so it's like, oh, Immortals has a huge lead. Pobelter just runs up mid and dies. Like, MarkZ gets Malzahar ulted and dies. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, they have another huge lead, and they take a fight in the bot side jungle where somehow Pobelter gets, like, comes out, like, ahead, but somehow trades 4-for-5. And in all of this skirmishing, no one really gets to Laud. And so Laud ends the game with, like, an insane score.
Yeah.
Like 13-4. And to be fair, he played pretty well.
Right. Like, during this whole time that Immortals was starting to run away with the game, Laud was not the one dying, and he was, like, picking up, like, 1 kill in, like, a trade and, like, another kill in the trade. And then when they finally started turning things around, he was relatively even to the rest of the game. So the fact that he never got focused in these kind of fights was huge.
Yeah, and it became a huge problem because, like, Vlad usually dies backline. But Ezreal was strong enough to 4 or 5 hit the Vlad. It was a really, really big problem for the Vladimir. If he ever got CC going to backline, he was dead, essentially. My takeaway from this is that I thought that both the teams are better.
I thought both these teams were playoff-level teams, and only one of them was fortunate enough to make it because Team Liquid let us down.
Yeah.
It was on Team Liquid.
I think each of these teams have like a different, unique strength. With Immortals being the most like this direction, you go forward.
That's early game. This is the early game road, and they are far down that road.
And Dignitas is much more balanced. You know, I think the good stuff for Dignitas is that Chaser has become a actual good jungler over the period of the last 4 weeks.
He's like mini Lyra to me right now.
Yeah, no, he's actually become a consistently good jungler. Something that I was placing that player as 10th in the jungle pool going to the middle of the split.
Yeah, he was like
he was that bad. Like Chaser was playing that bad.
And you put him top half now, right?
Yeah, he's definitely if at the worst he might be 6th, but even then that's a huge jump.
Yeah, I think for the season, I wouldn't put him higher than 6. But for the second half of the season, I would definitely put him higher than 6.
Chaser's playing really well. I don't know what Cop's doing in that team. The behind the scenes, whatever happens, if Cop gets coach of the split, dude.
So this is an interesting one to me to sidetrack for a moment about coach of the split because I've talked about it a little bit before, but it sounds like the environment that the Korean coaches had was awful for the team. And, like, you replace an awful environment with, like, literally a neutral one, that's a huge upgrade. Even if you actually aren't, like, an overwhelmingly good force, like, you just show up and you're not those guys, you're doing good.
You're just saying Cop isn't that good.
I'm just
so
saying, if you look at the skill on Dignitas' roster, it looks pretty good. And then you're like, wow, this team's losing all their games. What's happening? And then they get rid of this problem, and they bring in Cop. And I don't know how good Cop is. I'm just saying.
So would you say the same remark about Kane for Team Liquid?
If you took away the worst coaching staff in the league and replaced them with, let's say, an average one, the team gets much better, right?
All right, but what about the best coach in the league? What if you replaced Would they make playoffs? Would the 10th place team make playoffs or replace the worst coaching staff with the best in the league?
No.
But they made playoffs, so he's even better than the best.
No, this is the most ridiculous logic I've ever heard. What are you talking about? They were in the 10th place team. Even at their worst, they were like 8th. You're crazy. All I'm saying, I love Kopp. I think he's done a lot of good for the team. His drafts are good. He's obviously got the team more on the same page, but he went into an environment that sucked, and people wanted change, and he was the change, and they bought it.
Okay, you know what? I believe that, but they've done a great job improving since this came on.
Dignitas absolutely night and day from the team that they were in Week 4, where they couldn't do anything.
And I kind of agree with you that I would like to see both these teams in playoffs, and it's unfortunate for Immortals, especially that I guess FlyQuest made it in at the very end. And you know what? Let's just talk about that. What's our next game? Is it the FlyQuest game?
It's the FlyQuest TL game. The heartbreaker for...
Oh. All right, so going into this series, TL had to win the Void relegations.
Right. FlyQuest needed to win one game to get playoffs. In Game 1, it was a 3-game series, so spoiler, FlyQuest made playoffs. But Game 1, TL wins. Game 2, TL looks like they could win. Reignover's doing pretty well, and then things go bad for Team Liquid, really bad. They just lose their mind and they lose the game. And then Game 3 was pretty scrappy back and forth, but once again Team Liquid gets the early lead. It looks like they should win the game, and then they lose. So,
the rise of the century.
The rise. I don't want to. I want to play again next weekend. Rise Ultimate. That's what that Rise Ultimate was. It was I'm not done just yet. Midlet wants to ride one more time before he probably gets replaced. So he had to rise Ultimate to be give me one more weekend, guys. That's what that was. He wants more time on stage.
Jesus. Okay, so sorry for the first game. I just think that the first game really... I was surprised about the first game a lot. Wait,
what surprised you about?
Was it this game?
Well, it was the one where they FlyQuest took Zyra Kate and then still kind of got destroyed bot lane against Ashe.
Oh yeah, they got a 4-minute 2v2 kill.
Yeah.
Doublelift, the hero of the century with Matt.
Yep, and then
goes off.
And then Reignover solo kills Moon in his jungle. Their bot lane setting up they're popping off. They got another kill in the bot lane.
Oh,
yeah, this is the dive.
Was the 10-minute dive.
Yeah, so this is crazy. So TL's at 3-0 now. They've killed the jungler. They've killed 2 bot laners. And then it's 10 minutes. You have Talia. They're setting up a 4-man dive versus 2. They get to the play first. FlyQuest is not jumping the play or anything. And TL is just horribly flubs the dive.
This is the dive where
it's the backbreaking dive. You win the game on this dive.
Yes, and they lost or
it should be you win the game or nothing happens, and they almost lost the game on this dive.
This dive reminds me of the dive that CLG did on Phoenix, where Phoenix did play well, but you see CLG come in and they're just wait a sec,
one goes in,
yeah,
2 go out.
They messed up so much, and it became a highlight reel for Team Liquid. But this is a situation where FlyQuest should have no business living.
Let alone turning it 0 for or 3 for 0. TL should have 2-0, took the bot turret, blown the game open. Instead, FlyQuest they mess up the initial dive, which buys enough time for FlyQuest to TP in and have people show up, and they turn it 3 for 0, and they grab the bot turret, taking 1,000 gold lead away from Team Liquid.
My problem with this game is, and this is a problem in general, is that if you look at the play styles on the team, you know essentially who's going to win every single game. So Doublelift will be ahead every game. Piglet will probably be behind in laning phase, and Morlo will be even.
Yep.
And Reignover will probably be ahead. He's actually
he was ahead. Yeah.
He's been playing pretty well.
He looks like top 3 jungler in NA.
I actually think he's really good.
Yeah, he's super.
Okay, so with that in mind, why is Piglet trying to make plays every single game? What is the point of him making plays? All he's doing every game I see him is flashing in or trying to angle himself into it's being the hero of the moment. If you watch his Talia play, not just this game, I will not talk about earlier series where his Talia was just god-awful. This specific game, all they had to do with Ashe Maokai was they walk together, they start the fight with Ashe Arrow, and the game's over. Ashe Arrow or Maokai, and Talia just W's off the Ashe Arrow, and the fight's over. Now, what does Piglet do? He tries to do these angles where it's I gotta start the fight with my ulti, so I'm gonna cut away 2 screens that way, and I'll cut the team fight off this way, and that way it'll be a great fight for us. And how did I just die to Rengar? That's so weird. That happened so much this game. I got so mad because it's he could just get carried, like straight up. Like if he's playing to win, it's not even about getting carried. If he's playing to win, if he's playing the comp correctly, he doesn't have to do anything but follow up and he wins the game.
What's your heart rate at? That's like 180. You're just popping off. Oh, goddamn.
I just feel, I look at this game and I'm just like,
yeah.
This is Piglet. This is the easiest game for Piglet because he doesn't have to do anything. He auto wins this game because his team is playing well.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's one of those times where it's like, let yourself get carried. And he had a hard time doing that. The way that they actually win this game is just like Hai is in a horrible position and just gets killed by Reignover at the start of like a late game team fight, and it's a 4v5, and Piglet ults Reignover out from the fight, so like Reignover can't reset properly into the fight. It was actually hilarious. And then they still win that fight, and then they go down mid and end. It was like a really scrappy game after FlyQuest came back into it. Lots of trade kills, and like you said, neither team playing clean.
Yeah,
you let everyone know about your thoughts on Piglet.
This was the game where I thought TL had this in the bag. Okay, whatever. Going on to game 2.
Yep. This was once again Team Liquid jumping out to an early lead. They're playing a really like high execution team comp.
My question is, why does Reignover get Olaf ever?
I mean, it's getting to the point now where you're asking that about a lot of champs on him. Like, why does he get Graves ever? Why does he get Olaf ever? His Gragas looks pretty good, too. Like, it's starting to get to the point
where he's just a good player.
Yeah, where it's like you got to stop target banning him because he's too good. Unless it's like you're going to go really hard on him. Maybe you take off one thing that you don't want to deal with that game. He's at that kind of point. And Team Liquid's running this super high execution team comp. Rumble, Jace, Jin, and Zyra, right? I think it's Zyra. Yeah, Zyra. So they're playing this really high execution team comp, and things are going well. You know, Reignover goes up top early, gets a kill. There's another kill down bottom. There's another 2-for-0 where they like FlyQuest turns it, and it looks like maybe they're coming back into it. Team Liquid keeps getting kills, and it looks like they should win this game until they just go way too hard mid.
The story of Team Liquid in general is that they just overdive.
That's what I was saying yesterday.
And a lot of times it's with Olaf. So it's like, what I consider Reignover's best champion is Olaf. This guy overdives. Like, he's past tier 2 towers every game. And I'm just like, what is, Jesus, man. Like, I know you're strong, but you're not like God. Like, you gotta slow down there.
We don't know what comms are, so who knows if it's people telling Reignover to go in.
Right,
but
exactly.
it does seem when you look at it like the team is not like we're all behind Reignover. Like, Reignover's kind of just going.
I will say the interesting thing is I'm surprised TL didn't put Piglet on Jace more. I thought this was like an average to slightly above average game play from, if you look at the cast, if you look at the like.
But he played it into Orianna and he was down 20 CS and he had cleanse. Like, what was he doing? That's not like what you're just. I didn't get it.
But the thing is, it's like he didn't lose really hard. You can't go super aggressive on the champion, and
you can go aggro. Like, look at who he's Jace. You can go aggro.
Okay. Well, I mean, aside from a really, really
But
dumb,
you can't shoot yourself into the enemy team like a Taliyah.
Right. It's essentially a situation where it's the AD carry of mid lane. And I think that he tends to perform better on AD carries because that's his role that he's played for 5 years than other champions. And so I'm surprised that I didn't see this earlier from them because Jace has been pretty good.
Well, it was mostly because he got banned. They banned the Taliyah and the Ahri, and it was like, all right, what else does Piglet play after that? Because he played 4 games of Taliyah in a row at that point. And the Jace, I wasn't super, I didn't really like it.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
But in terms of like Piglet, right? We're talking about Piglet's Jace.
I still think Piglet's like played parts of this game terribly. The best example is when they overdove mid lane. Piglet tries to clean up a kill on high through a Rengar ulti and 2 people.
You thought that was the worst one?
I thought that was a really bad one.
That was a bad one. The other bad one was top lane. After they forced them off the inhibitor, he's off on the flank, and instead of pathing behind the wall so Nautilus can't engage onto him, he passed into lane, and Nautilus just hooks him. He instantly has to cleanse flash out. It's just like, nice one, dude.
Okay, maybe for me, maybe Piglet just isn't a great Jace. Like, I don't know. The fact that I have less problems with his Jace as Taliyah, and he's played 4 games of Taliyah, should say something about.
You're not happy about anything. You're not happy about Piglet mid. Just straight up.
Not really.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Moving
on from that, the play that cost CL the game was a mid turret dive where like they pick off high in the mid lane using like the Jin Zyra combo. That's great. They pressure around the turret. FlyQuest doesn't really back off. They pick off another member, 2 more members, and then like they're gonna have to lose. I think it was Lorlo. They were going to have to lose someone in the turret. Like, he was going to die for sure. They're between 2 turrets at this point, but they just killed 2 members. It's fine. It's going to be 4v2 if you back off there and you're still sieging. And instead of that, Reignover runs through the turret, gets caught out. Piglet has to run the other way, and then the 2 other members are stuck on the other side of the turret. So Reignover gets focused down and killed, and then Matt's not paying attention or something. He gets hooked, and they die as well. And it's a 3-for-3 with 1 turret going their way. But they hand back a lot of like shutdowns and stuff. So it was like really bad. And then after that, I mean, they just kept going like really balls deep, like way too hard. Reignover's like the most balls deep Olaf in the league, which is like surprising when you have other players like Dardoch and Smithy and like.
Yeah, I mean, in general, we still got another game.
Yeah, we got game 3, dude. We ain't done yet with this series, and don't forget we have a whole nother series that goes best of 3 after this.
Oh, but that one's easy.
Yeah, that one we don't talk about.
No, that one. I mean, I wrote one line for one of the games.
All right.
Okay,
We'll wrap this up. Game 3, once again, Team Liquid jump out to an early lead. Their draft Shen, Olaf, or Shen, Kha'Zix, Ashe, Thresh, Ryze, basically like a pick-off comp is what they're running.
Well, first of all, just talking about draft, I like the Ryze here. I actually think Ryze did really well into the Talon before.
I was surprised, actually.
And I think that Ryze is like one of Piglet's old best champions, and he's still good at the Talon right now. Even though people dropped him, I don't think Ryze is bad. The only thing I was surprised about was, why did you take exhaust against this team? The only champion in the entire team you can exhaust is Talon. You're not going to be in range to exhaust Caitlyn. So the best thing you could do is run like Ghost or Barrier or Heal or TP.
Yeah.
But that's just, I'm being nitpicky.
Right. And I think on FlyQuest side, I actually really like their comp as well. You get the Lulu Kate so they can't get smashed bot lane. For the most part, like that, it's really hard to get smashed in that lane. And then Talon's great for high. I think that's exactly the kind of champ you should be playing in terms of like early playmaking and things like that. Gragas for Moon is nice. It's a little bit safer because sometimes Moon's just in the wrong place. And Gragas is a little bit harder to blow up. And then Nautilus for balls makes sense. But like Team Liquid played the early game well as, again, like Reignover goes top for first blood. Reignover and Matt get a kill in the bot lane. Like he's all over the map again. And TL are like forcing top. They're not like getting huge CS leads. The kills aren't translating into objectives. But I think at one point they were like 3-10 in kills. So they were coming out like way ahead in these kind of fights. Mm-hmm. And then you want to talk about the greatest Ryze ult in history?
Oh,
do you want to go right into that? Because basically TL was winning this game. Okay. No way they can lose.
So I think Krepo had a good example of a good reasoning for why they did this on Twitter. He said that essentially what ended up happening was they tried the Baron bait and they couldn't do it because they didn't see it effectively. Right. And so they failed the Baron bait. And so Lorlo then tries to make a play with a TP advantage on the bot side, get something happening, and the team follows up. And then the team all dies because you Ryze ultied into a Gragas.
Well, so to speak a little bit about the play, I don't like it at all. Like, they're trying to siege mid-outer turret because they still haven't cracked it. This is like 27 minutes into the game or something. And you're taking the split push Shen and trying to get a flank off with him. And then the entire team from FlyQuest just turns onto the Shen. And now you're bringing the fight to Shen. That's like, generally speaking with Shen, the last thing you want to do with that champion.
Yeah. I just think he was also in like a really bad spot at the start. And then his team was like, we could turn this. And then they get...
And they weren't really wrong. Like, if that was a better Ryze ult where you didn't... And, like, if Reignover was positioned better in the Ryze ult as well...
Maybe, but what ended up happening was
you don't instantly lose because you Ryze ulted there. You instantly lose because of how you Ryze ulted there.
Yes, if the Ryze ult was positioned like a little bit farther back, where you can't get Caitlyn trapped when you come in.
You can't get a Gragas ultimate right on top of your team.
Yeah. Then maybe I would agree it wouldn't be a terrible ulti. But it was in every way you could describe it possible. It was terrible, and then High cleans up. And at this point, like, the talent's 5-1.
Yeah, he had been doing fine the whole game despite his team kind of dying.
Yeah,
he was trying to make plays too. He was playing well.
He's been clean. He cleaned up a decent amount of fights, like maybe like I think one bot lane dive, and so he accrued like a 4-1, and he got to 6-1, I think. And at that point, when Talon has this many kills as the AD, you don't live in the next team fight if you mess up. And they messed up, and then Talon just killed everyone.
Right, and like the Gragas ult puts Reignover in, insta kill him. The AD carries in position of Nautilus, he just ults him, and then like he has to flash out, and it's like,
and he still dies.
And like Shen was caught at the start of this, so he can't like ult or anything. And they all die. They lose Baron, and like the game's pretty much over from there. And then High like just keeps popping off. It was just like, well, see you in relegation. See you guys next week. There's the Ryze ult to get into relegation. So.
Yep, I think in terms of like overall series, High had a pretty good Talon game. Like. And
I thought High was good for the most part. His Orianna was good in game 2. I thought his Victor positioning wasn't great, and Victor being an immobile champion, like I don't think that's what High's best thing is, because it doesn't quite have that. It punishes like people's mistakes, but it can't just like go in and do something. Even Orianna, to an extent, can find a good ultimate and like win a game by herself. I don't like Victor. He struggles a little bit in doing that.
Yeah, I think I don't know. In general, FlyQuest didn't particularly impress me with this series.
No, I mean both series this week, FlyQuest got destroyed in early games, and then the enemy teams fucked up horribly, and they came back and won.
Yeah,
Dignitas was the same way.
It's cool that they can come back, so that maybe their late game shot calling is better than like Immortals and Dig, but their early game is just so bad. Like I actually think when you look across like their entire team, Balls is still playing like.
For the most part, yeah. Like Balls is fine.
Balls
like,
and Moon are playing like probably the best.
Moon?
I think Moon's playing okay.
He got so out jungled this series, and I mean it is rain over, and I'll like.
Oh, well, he had one game where he was even, and I guess 2 games where he fell behind. Yeah, I guess he did get out jungled. I remember the last series where he played Gragas and actually out jungled his opponent.
Right. So, well, no, even then Chaser shit on him. Didn't FlyQuest get destroyed by C9 for the most part? Or am I thinking, was it FlyQuest?
Maybe I'm just thinking of a wrong week. Wait, it could definitely be possible.
I would need to check. Was the FlyQuest versus Echo Fox, or were they against Dignitas?
It would definitely be possible that I'm thinking about the wrong week.
I don't even remember Friday, because FlyQuest, either way, whether it was Echo Fox or them, I'm pretty sure. Someone in chat will write something soon.
Okay. Well, let me just keep talking a little bit about FlyQuest.
I'm retarded. I think Dignitas played C9. FlyQuest and C9 are the same team, dude.
All right, but let me talk. I actually think their bot lane's really bad in lane. I think Altek has the worst lane stats of all the ADs.
Oh yeah.
Like he's like
you take Kate Zyra and get killed level 4. That's a problem.
No, just in general. Like if you saw his lane stats before he even picked up the Kayle as a champion a week or 2 weeks ago, he had like an a -8 CS differential on a team that was at a positive record.
And like he looked at his best when they were like, put him on
MF
and just let him E the lane and then ult in fights and don't do anything else.
Yeah, I mean some of it is because like he roams mid actually with his support, like a decent amount early in the season.
I mean Echo Fox as a whole is down to lose CS to make a good play.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that, but just in general, like when I eyeball the bot lane, I'm just like they just lose.
It's worse than just like he was out of lane making plays. It's like he's losing. So FlyQuest is very sketch heading into playoffs. Team Liquid, I don't know, like heading into promos, like
they'll probably win.
They'll probably be fine. Like I think the biggest thing is that I've said this a couple times, both promo teams are jungle mid centric, and you have to beat one of those teams in a best of 5 to get out. So like they can lose to like E United, but then they might have to play Gold Coin United, or they play Envy. I mean, I guess there's a chance they don't need to, and they just relegate Envy. Who knows? But
I mean, there's a chance. But when I think of just like raw player skill, you have to be a jungle that's better than Reignover, and then the AD that's better than Doublelift. Like that's pretty tough. Lorela's been playing okay.
Yeah.
And the only problem is like Piglet, but like. I don't know if like
I don't think he gets smashed hard enough by the challenger teams.
Except for maybe Phoenix as a mid laner is like just considerably better than him in lane, and everyone else is like I don't think they're that good.
Right, but Phoenix can't just like win by 20 CS versus Piglet. Like I fully expect Phoenix to do that to Piglet, but if he's not get like two or three kills up leaving laning phase, I don't think Phoenix smashed him hard enough to beat the rest of Team Liquid.
I agree with that.
So that will be our concluding thoughts for Team Liquid versus FlyQuest. Moving on to the best series of the split. Saving the best for last. CLG versus Envy, baby.
This is a really... I'll do the description for the first game. The first game, CLG starts 0-5, and then they get aced at 13 minutes bot lane, so it's 3-13 or 3-14. And by that point, you can just turn off the game because the game's over.
What was funny though was that they had a turret lead for a long part in this game despite getting aced. They did the classic CLG ace at 13 minutes, and it was so funny. I just said no for like 30 seconds on the analyst desk when I was like watching with Dash, and that play started. I was just like no. I just held it because I was like, this is CLG.
It was so bad.
When Smithy just ran in bot lane and didn't back off when he gets ignited, and he just it's just like you literally just ran in there and died.
I had a flashback of Meteos with his Elise where he did the exact same thing.
It was worse.
It was definitely worse.
It was way worse.
Meteos almost got out. Like he just died like inside there and it didn't even do damage.
Yeah, he was like, nah man, I got this. He's like not even close. So that was abysmal. That's all you need to know.
Yeah,
Envy won that one.
you cover game 2 because I actually don't super remember how the game 2 went.
So game 2 was a lot of trade kills. Envy had Talia, which I actually liked Ninja's Talia for the most part. And this was a relatively close game. CLG had GP though. And Envy, like in a close game where you're trading kills a lot, if the GP is coming out fine for the most part, you're in some trouble. And this was a game where, obviously because there are a lot of trade kills, GP eventually gets huge, and that's a big problem, as well as the fact that you have Kate, Ori, Gragas, Nami. Like, they have a solid team comp with the GP. And Envy is not good after mid-late game, and they lost.
I thought the
and the Nidalee, though, Lyra was doing pretty good, though not quite as good. He has been a little shakier, so...
Yeah, I mean, it got to the point where they ended up banning Nidalee, I think, the third game. I don't remember if they ever... Did they ever end up banning Nidalee in the series?
I think they might have done it the third game, because he was on it the first game as well.
Yeah, they banned Nidalee the third game.
Yeah, because he played the first game, popped the fuck off. CLG was probably like, all right, we're idiots. Let's try this again. And then he did pretty good again.
Yeah, and then, except for, like, dying at red to, like... The jungle, like Afrin was just stuck with Xmithy a lot, and then tried to like kill invaded junglers, which was just Lyra in this series, and so
that's why it was so scrappy. Is because like Lyra's good, and their like early skirmishing on CLG is not great. So like they were meh, and he was good.
Yeah, this is a game where I was just like, oh, CLG is only behind by 1.5k going into mid game, like 25-30 minute mark. CLG's probably gonna win because they have game plank. That's just how I thought.
Yep.
And overall, I thought their comp was just better. There's really not much the enemy team can do if they're playing Nidalee, Malzahar, Talia, and then you get gameplay ultied.
Yeah, I mean, if you fall behind and like you don't get the Talia up there to kill the GP a couple times and stuff like that, which pretty much never happened again.
He runs through the game,
right?
Because they have no one who can dive.
Yep.
Okay, going to the third game, the game of the year.
All right, CLG looking good, bouncing back, running their 1-3-1 comp. He's on Echo, he's making plays. It doesn't look that bad. Still kind of getting traded back and forth. They have a good 5-man dive play to kind of blow the game open at like 7 minutes.
Yeah, it was great. Right before that, Darshan solo killed the top lane. It was looking mid lane blue flash on the enemy play. It was looking great.
Yeah, it looked really good. There were still some sketchy fights after that. You thought they would have blown the game open a little harder, but it's still fine. They're in the 1-3-1. They're getting picks. They're getting turrets on the top side. He took top inhib turret at like 18 minutes or 19 minutes or something, I think. So that was cool. And then they start trying to play around Baron. And things stopped going so well.
They eventually get the Baron around the late 30 minute mark.
So CLG was like winning this game with the 1-3-1. Then they throw around like the 25-minute mark. They like get picked and lose Baron and go a bunch of kills, and then the next time Baron respawns in the 30-minute mark, that's when he has a great play to blow up Apollo in the fight
and they
around the Baron, right? And they 4-for-1, they get the Baron, and then from then on, CLG is like super pushed into Envy's side of the map, and they're taking turrets and inhibitors, and then the game didn't end for some reason. I don't understand.
They just weren't patient enough. Like
they should have ended.
This is a series where like if you get
CLG wasn't patient enough.
Why are you laughing?
At what point were they not patient enough?
Well,
like the mid game, you mean, right? Like the mid-ish late game.
Well, like okay, the Baron they threw, I thought that like that was really bad.
Yeah, that was not
terrible.
Yeah,
and even the way they split push, like they were aggressive, but like the way they tried to make the execution for the split push was wrong. Like they executed perfectly. Like they got like the chip on the inhib, the chip on the towers, chip on the inhib, chip on the towers. And eventually, like they had to force the enemy team to make a very hard decision. And when they forced the enemy team to make the hard decision, they just didn't execute anything.
Well, they had like Shen, Echo in the bot lane with the other 3 around Baron, right? And like they all died, lost the Baron, and then the other 2 like tried super hard
to make a play, and then they died too.
Yeah.
And that would happen a decent amount. Like I just think that
they got too patient when they got triple inhibs down. We're all fine in mana and health, and for some reason Smithy like backs off and resets. He's listening. Maybe he's going for more wards, whatever. And then they all pull away and go Elder Dragon. And then they all go back to Baron. And then they're pressuring with 3 inhibs, but then 1 respawns and they kill that one. And they all die, so 2 more show up. If they just stayed in the base with triple inhib down and just sat there and waited for the minion waves to come in, it's so fucking hard to clear double or triple double super creep waves with a full 5-man team there, right? Like, why do you back off there? Because that's how they won the game at the end, was they finally got all 3 inhibs down and they just sat there.
I guess in that situation, it was definitely possible for them to win the game there.
Yeah, that was like 45 minutes.
But like for me, it's like, okay, well shit. Like they messed up. They didn't see the play. and they went back to get Elder Baron. And this is like an easy way to end the game because they got Elder Baron, and how do you lose with Elder Baron at 40 minutes?
You're CLG.
Yeah,
playing against.
It's because you messed up
you're
super
playing against
bad.
Kate, Cassio. Ninja had an alright Cassio game this time around. As much as I flamed him last week for his Cassio game, this one was not on the same level. But yeah, I just think if you ever get triple inhibs down and you're healthy and like you don't risk dying, just fucking sit there. Like, what are they gonna do? Clear all of those and then come try and like fight you? Like they can't. There's too much health in the game right then. Like you can't clear.
They must have thought it would be safer to reset for the two big objectives. And then it just turns out that the execution...
No, super creeps are way better late game than like a baroned up wave. And when they got both super creep, when they got both objectives and went back to the base, they still had triple inhibs, but then the bot one respawned, and while they were killing that one, they got into a fight which they lost, and then the other two showed up. Whereas like if you risk dying there at 2 minutes ago before you went for the double neutral objectives, those inhibs are still down. They don't do anything. Like they can't leave their base. They're stuck on wave clear duty. Okay. So I think if you ever get triple inhibs down and you're healthy, like chill.
I agree they should have ended it sooner, and I agree. They probably should have ended it right there as well.
Yeah. Anyways, they didn't. Game went on forever. CLG eventually wins. Hoo-hee, hooray, played pretty well. This feels like a horrible win, and we're done talking about this season. The split is over. Regular season split's over. Time for the last power rankings, where we will compare them as well to what we said at the beginning of the split to see how horribly wrong and how much we overreacted at the start of the split.
Okay.
So let's kick things off here. I feel like starting at the top and bottom like we tend to do is once again not that bad.
Yeah.
I actually am like pretty sure we're going to be on the same page with most of this.
Yeah, I think it's really hard. I think even the thing I even know the exact team you want to switch up. Yep. But, okay, so at the very top, we got TSM, right?
Top is TSM for sure. We're probably going to fly through this one, honestly.
Yeah, TSM, well, I mean, it's okay because we can just do the comparison at the end. Right. So TSM is...
One.
They're great. Like, they have... Bjergsen's been, like, going crazy the last 2 weeks.
Their bot lane
super good.
Is exploitable, but only by certain teams. Like, it's not... They're still a top 5 bot lane in the league, but they will get abused by potentially a sneaky smoothie combo, potentially an arrow combo, though we're not convinced of that yet because his support doesn't seem to quite be
there. Yeah, and there's not. And then Immortals probably could have abused them.
Immortals, like, that's what's funny is the bot lanes that could have abused them didn't make it. Like,
yeah,
Stixxay Afro might be able to do it, but then, like, Doublelift not there. Thank God, you don't have Cody Sun in there. Like, it's kind of crazy to say. Like, thank God Cody's on the playoffs for TSM. But
like I said before, I just think that it's really funny that that the bot lanes in A are like pretty bad this season.
Yeah,
just in general. TSM doesn't have that many exploitable weaknesses, and they're first by landslide because their team's actually just good.
Yep. There's not much else to say about them. Sven has looked a little shaky, but for the most part has come together just fine.
Okay. You want 2 or 10? 2?
2, I think, is C9.
Yep.
C9. There's a little bit of concern last week when we put P1 over them for the first time. And it made sense because they looked really, really good. This week, it was really hard to judge P1. They didn't look great in their first game versus C9, and then they tried to change things up, and they got smashed.
We didn't see Meteos at all, and then C9 just, like, smacked them, like, straight up.
Well, we saw Meteos game 1.
But I mean, today, we didn't see...
Yeah, we didn't see him at all, and they got destroyed by TSM.
And in my opinion, with Meteos, they have more diverse options. Like you said before, the top laner who can play carry counter picks has to be stuck on tanks because they have a Nori who can only play carries, essentially.
Yeah.
And so it kind of sucks. We didn't see, like, full potential of P1. I just think that C9 is still good. Really good.
And like you said, from their series against P1 on Saturday, Sneaky and Smoothie smashed Arrow and whoever his support was. So you see potentially that there's another lane that can win lane hard as opposed to just, like, winning, like, soft.
Yeah, right? C9 has finally a different win condition early, and one that came up because the meta kind of changed. And I think that maybe they can use it to exploit people in playoffs. I know they can. I'm hopeful that they can.
Yeah, it looks good for them in that regard because you don't want to just rely on Jensen pressuring mid and Contracts getting a kill around there because that was basically how they played it.
Okay.
Their macro in the early game is still a concern though. They still take turrets so slow, which is a problem. But we'll see if they can change that up. You want to go 3?
P1?
3 is P1.
They're still good. They're just not as good as the other two teams.
They had a lot to prove this week, and they failed horribly at it. And who knows why, because like we said, they were messing around with their roster. They didn't stick through a series with what we assume is their best roster.
And I'm concerned with you about their bot lane. Like it feels like you know Arrow's good, but the bot lane has 2 people, and it feels like Arrow's never really gotten along well with his support in lane to the point where they can just dominate the lane.
And the scary thing is that, as we said, the meta is becoming a lot more aggressive, and there's like you can't crutch on exhaust to back out of bad trades. So like if you have a bad support now compared to the start of the split, it's way worse because they might get insta-killed by a Thresh, by an all-in, just by a Lulu even. Like you can't just exhaust and run away and heal and that like disengage style.
Yep, and so even though we say all this about their bot lane, they still have very, very good players. Like they have Ryu, they got Arrow. Zig is still good, but when he's left strictly on tanks, I feel like it limits his champion pool. And so that's why Mark had said before, I don't really like it when they play Inori as much as Meteos, because I feel like. But then again, Meteos at least seems fairly exploitable. So I don't really know.
Yeah, but Gragas is now meta. Olaf seems decent. Like there seems like there's just enough for him to be fine.
There's options. But anyways, they're still a good team. They're just not as good as the first 2.
And the only thing I would say is just the team atmosphere might be a little sketch because who knows exactly what's going on with all these. We saw that Stunt wanted to play today, didn't get in the game.
Yeah, and usually you're not allowed to tweet that. You shouldn't tweet that unless...
Right, so that definitely seems a little weird, and who knows exactly what's going on, but assuming that there's nothing terrible, this team should be fine in playoffs.
Yep. Moving on to the bottom.
Yeah, I think we should flip here. Number 10. Envy. And here's what we said every time about Envy.
Why is Lyra so good? This is actually like...
It's painful to rate them this low because... For 50% of their games, they look better than 50% of the league.
Yes.
And when I say 50% of the games, I mean 50% of their game time. So the first 50% of the game, these guys look like a mid-level to high-level LCS team. They beat everyone in the early game, basically. And then they lose every game.
Yes, they can't close. And that's not like a general analysis. It's like an absolute for them.
It's a fact.
They cannot close games.
It's not like, they struggle with vision control a little bit too much. They make some misplays around Baron. It's like they will find a way to lose any game.
Yes, and it's not just like a small thing where it's like, they struggle to get vision on mid lane when they're looking to control Baron. It's actually just like... you think it's one thing, and then they just fail across the board when it comes to closing.
Here's a bad team fight, here's bad vision control,
here's bad skirmish,
here's a horrible Baron call, here's them just like not defending their base properly. There's like something will go horribly wrong. They will lose the game, but they look incredible for the first 50% of the game. The first 15 minutes, you're like, these guys are incredible.
Yeah, and I think that Lyra's great. Lyra's like a top 4 jumper.
I hope Lyra doesn't go anywhere, dude. I can't get enough of this guy.
Yeah, he's actually so good.
I'm glad they're in promotion so I can watch them next week. I'm glad. There's like this weird scenario where like if TL won 1 game but then Echo Fox lost a bunch and Envy went 2-0, then Envy could potentially have tiebreakers over both of them and get 8th place. I'm glad they're not 8th place. We got to see one more weekend of Lyra.
Oh, I mean, I guess that's one way to put it. I would have liked to see Lyra stack up against the playoffs competition.
Oh, they were never making playoffs.
Oh, yeah. But I mean...
If they made playoffs, that'd be great. I would love to watch more Lyra, but not going to happen.
Anyways, that's why they're 10th. There's really nothing else I can say about this team. Ninja's super inconsistent. ᵐᵉ's not playing great. Apollo's okay, and Haku is okay. But 2 average to slightly above average spot lane players mean nothing when they have, like, the shot calling of a peanut. Like I don't know. I don't know what they do.
Even Lyra after 25 minutes starts to look like he's losing the grip on reality.
Exactly. And so it's just I don't know. They can't win games, and that's in the end the only way you can judge how good a team is.
Yeah, if they're winning at all.
Yes. Okay. So
moving on to 9. This is a little bit closer for me than you would initially think, but I will still go TL9.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of a hesitation between Echo Fox and TL.
I think Raynor has gotten to the point where he is a serious threat every single game.
Right.
And
the meta has shifted enough back. Like, Meteos' meta is also kind of Raynover's meta.
And Raynover's meta, it's the 2016 meta, he was the best jungler in the region by, like, a good, like, mile. Like, he was God.
Yeah.
And when you hear coaches talk about him, like, you should look up Ziggs's interview with Thorin, and he's just like, Raynover was the best jungler in the region. He changed how every jungler in the region jungled.
I mean, even this split, Dardoch is saying, like, I still feel like the only person who goes toe-to-toe with me is Reignover. That's what Dardoch was saying.
Yeah, no, and I don't even think I can disagree. Like, a lot of Reignovers, his early pathing, we always compliment. We're just like, this guy is so smart. He's so good. And then we only say, like, he overdives and he kills himself. But, like, up until that point, he's great. And
yeah.
I don't know. I think that he's become more consistent, and he's a serious enough threat to where like him and Doublelift can win games, even if their mid laner just kills himself a lot.
Right. So the reason it's close for me is because I have bought in enough on Doublelift and Reignover carry potential with Lorlo being solid that this team could actually not be a relegation team if they have more than 2 weeks together. But the problem is they did only have 2 weeks together. And if you look at them right now, I don't expect them to be able to beat teams above them, honestly. And I think FlyQuest was a team that they should be able to beat, because I don't think FlyQuest is very good, and I'm sure we'll see when we get to placing them. But they definitely should. They can't be any higher. Like, they just don't win. They beat TSM, which is great, but TSM did their regular game 1 loss, and then they just picked the worst fights ever in game 3, and it wasn't like TL was getting smashed in game 3.
Yeah. And it's just a situation where TSM finally lost the series.
Yeah, it was going to happen. It just happened.
I don't want to say TL played poorly. They obviously played well enough to be the best team in the league. But
right.
Usually when you rate like best teams or like players, consistency is a very, very high trait that you rate.
Yep.
Right? Even among players, among teams, the teams and players who are the most consistently high in terms of like high level of play are the ones that you think are the best.
Yeah,
and TL is not anywhere near
right. Like even their best player, arguably Reignover, is inconsistent within a single game where he'll have great plays and horrible plays. And if you told me how did TL beat TSM, I would have said they probably popped off really hard early game, but they actually like TSM through, which isn't like that doesn't reflect well on TL. So I think it is actually really close between Echo Fox and them, but I just don't think with Piglet you can expect to win any series. Yeah, you went way harder on Piglet than I did today. Don't give me a look like that.
I know what you're talking about, dude. I love Piglet.
Yeah, you didn't just flame him hard for his Talia game, right? Like real hard. Like
I'm
like you're not gonna sit down tonight.
Oh, all right, let's move on to Echo Fox.
All right. Whoa, who said Echo Fox is 8th place?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Actually,
I still put Echo Fox 8th place.
Their level of play does not impress.
No, I think if you look at consistent carry factors, if Reignover was like a little bit more consistent, I think this is why you can put them over Echo Fox, because Doublelift is like the Froggen of bot lane right now a little bit, where both of them are like going to win lane, and then they're going to be able to make plays in the mid game. And I think Reignover has been playing better than Acadian recently, but I also don't like Piglet's probably worse than Keith in his respective position.
And I think Looper's worse than Lorlo.
And Looper's worse than Lorlo. So I think the supporting cast for Echo Fox is about equal, but I just can't.
And I also think on top of that, Echo Fox can't frontline as well as Team Liquid. Even with Team Liquid's frontline literally going past 2 towers every other game, they still frontline better than Echo Fox. Echo Fox's frontline legit makes it so hard to carry. That's why I feel a little bit bad for Keith and Froggen, because
yeah, it's like, how do you follow up on an engage that's so far past you that the enemy team it just either kills your tanks or they ignore them and kill you?
Yeah, it's really bad. And so, like, honestly, it's really tough to beat playing a carry position when the easiest way to play a carry position is front to back. And they can't ever do that because their front line has no idea what they're doing.
And Keith looked not bad. Not like awful the last 2 weeks. He's actually been like decent.
Yeah, he's been okay. And even with him being okay, like,
this team isn't going to win much.
Exactly.
There's still clear synergy issues with this team where you're like, what does it do? In the start of the split, they had like Acadian, Froggen being monsters, hard carrying early games, and getting so far ahead that they can't lose. And Acadian came back down to earth. Mid-tier LCS jungler, it seems like. Froggen's still a top-tier mid laner, and then the rest of the team is bleh. And then they don't synergize well or have like great strategies that they execute on. They're just there.
They don't do anything.
They're a bunch of like decently talented players who don't do anything.
Yep. I'm okay putting them 8th. Or they're 8th, right?
Yeah, 8th.
Okay, so 8th, by the way, doesn't go into relegation. 7th and 8th are safe, and they essentially just have
they get a break.
They get a vacation until next split. So which goes to our 7th place team, this is the team where I know where you're putting.
You know who I'm putting
FlyQuest.
FlyQuest.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, these guys are not good right now. I think there was a time where they had a really high peak, but it just seemed like the whole scene was pretty bad then, where a lot of teams looked better than they really were, and it was about who improved from there. And teams like TSM, Dignitas,
even Altec was like, I think teams improved a lot in this post-game interview.
Yeah, and they said we didn't improve at all.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, you didn't.
And they're like, we played too much random shit, and it's like, yeah, you did. You were playing Mordekaiser, Blitzcrank, Nautilus, Jarvan mid. Like, what were you guys thinking was gonna happen?
And so, luckily, they scrape into playoffs legit at the last possible minute.
Yeah, like the way they made playoffs is like, ugh. I mean, to be fair, they did go 2-0 in their last week to make playoffs.
Yeah, and so like, I'm not saying that they don't deserve to be there. I just don't think they're as good of a team as the other teams.
They put in the work early on to deserve playoffs, but
Yes.
if you look at their overall skill level, they're not a playoff team in the league.
At the moment, I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, Moon has. We talk about Cadian coming back down to earth. I think Moon just doesn't look great anymore. Let's say he's a bottom half LCS jungler. Whereas when we were talking about him at the start of the split, it's like this guy is potentially the best jungler in the LCS. So I think he came crashing back down to earth. Kind of what we saw out of him. Not nearly as bad as his time on NRG, but not good still. Would you go that far?
I wouldn't go that far. I think right now...
Where would you put him? Because Rainover looks a lot better. Lyra's a beast. Sven looks better. Contracts is probably better than him right now.
Sven, Contracts, Lyra, Rainover, Chaser,
Smithy.
I think he'd be around 6 or 7, I guess. So
Yeah,
I guess he would be...
I'm not saying he's the worst jungler.
Right,
I'm saying whereas before he was like 1-2, he's now down to like 6.
Yeah, he's like 6, 7.
Yeah.
Which is really bad. Honestly, his fall from grace, and especially because he was a big part of why they won games. Similar to Acadian,
Yeah.
he would dominate the early game with high, and they'd win the game.
He carried a big load on his back, and then he just kind of threw it off on the ground. Was like, "Fuck this shit," and then now FlyQuest just lost a bunch of games. Hell, it clearly wasn't his mentality, but
Yeah, I mean, FlyQuest has a lot of problems. I think their bot lane is relatively weak in lane. I think that high is okay. Like he's playing like okay to above average, and his shot calling hasn't been able to carry their team almost at all recently. On top of that, I think Balls is still their best player.
Yep, and I mean,
with everything that statement entails.
Yeah, like you take that statement, and we don't need to explain it more. Balls is their best player right now.
Yeah, and not as a shot to Balls, but at the moment in the league, where'd you put Balls? 5th?
No.
Really?
Someday, Haunter, Impact, Lorlo. Motherfucker.
Jesus fucking Christ. Totally.
Josh, go out there and shoot them, please.
6, 7? See, he'd be around like 6, 7 as well.
Yeah. Which once again is not bad. But it's just like.
Oh, but it's like if that's their best player,
right? If you have him on a team with like other people. Oh yeah, Zig, of course. I can't believe I forgot Zig. Like if you put him on a team that's like, TSM or something like. He's okay. Like, the team can do other things. You put him on P1, it's not that bad. It's still a downgrade from Zig, but when he's your best player, it's not good.
You're not working with great stuff everywhere else. So, okay, let's keep going. 6th place.
6th place. So, I don't know how you feel.
This is really hard for me. So, obviously, the next 3 picks that are in a row, we've gone 1 to 3, and then...
I don't think they're too hard. Because I feel like CLG, I don't take what happened this weekend too badly. Yeah, I don't know how you feel about it, but...
Well, it's like they brought in Joey. Like, legit, they could have brought in you.
Yeah, they could have, like, brought in, like, a fucking sack of potatoes, and they would have lost the games the same way. And no shots at Joey. It's just like, they called this kid up at 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to throw a brick out there.
I know.
I'm like, hey, you want a car alarm to go off? Like, there you go. Yeah, like no shots at Joey. It's just like that team was clearly not prepared at all. It was just like
it was all over the place. And then their series against
Envy.
Yeah.
So the thing about Envy is Envy has taken every team to 3 games. Like they took TSM to 3 games. They took C9 to 3 games. They took I don't know if they took P1 to 3 games.
I think they might have taken TSM to 3 games twice.
Yeah, I think they did it twice. Like, they're always taking teams to 3 games. So going to 3 games is not that bad. The 3rd game, obviously ugly. obviously horrendously gross, but they won it. And I mean, CLG, like they haven't been getting good practice either. Stixxay's been missing practice from what I heard with being sick and stuff like that. So
yeah, they're playing with Zaganox.
Yeah, so they've been playing with other people. They're not getting good practice, and I think it doesn't mean much to me that they didn't look great in their last week. So for me, I feel like CLG is still a clear step above Immortals and Dignitas.
I would have maybe disagreed until I saw the head-to-head today, and I'm just like, you know what? I'll go with it. I try very hard not to let like too much CLG bias come through, and for the most part, I feel like after week like 4 or 5, I've done a pretty good job at that.
I mean, people think I hate CLG when I really don't. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to balance your homerism out, which is giant. So dude, I seem like a hater in comparison.
I've been good the last couple of weeks. Like I think in this situation, I'm like the only thing I have a problem with is like their bot lane doesn't look great in lane again. Sure. But if he's not playing with the team for the last week and a half, like they could have a good reason for that. Additionally, I think that Darshan, the biggest thing for me is that Darshan has stepped up huge.
Darshan looks really good.
In the last like 3 weeks, this guy has played very, very well.
So the thing I like too is like ᵐᵉᵐᵉ is like very much like the epitome of CLG as like an individual person. Where like some games he just dies in lane for no reason, but when that doesn't happen, ᵐᵉᵐᵉ looks really good, and like Stixxay and him can smash bot lanes. In the same way that CLG will just lose fights and die everywhere sometimes. But when that doesn't happen, they actually look like a really top-tier team. Like, of the teams in the 4 to 6, 4 to 7 range, they're the only team that truly looks top-tier at points past the 20-minute mark.
And even like sometimes before, they'll do stuff that you're just
yeah.
That's great. Like, for instance, the third game, the game that was terrible, they did the 5-man dive bot. That's the kind of play you expect out of like great teams. When they have the lead, they smash a lane into the ground. And when usually better teams would just ran, the game was over. If you do get that play off, the game's just actually over.
Right.
But it's CLG, so they're not able to do like the whole thing clean, and it turned into some really big stupid game. But
so you like CLG 4?
I'm okay with the idea. I think I would have placed them as low as 5th. But that's it. I wouldn't have put them 6th.
So then who are you contesting them with for 4th?
Maybe in this situation, I just think that I've slept on Dig enough to where I give them credit for 1 week.
It's tough because if CLG came out here with Stixxay and had that performance against Immortals where they got smashed and then they kind of laid an egg versus Envy, I'm more with you. But with Joey coming in, and like Stixxay was in the hospital just last night, or just yesterday, right? And he's coming in and playing today. Do you think he's playing at 100%?
No.
No.
And honestly, their bot lane looks like it reverted back to earlier weeks where like they were doing really bad stuff in lane.
Right.
And so I think they're good for 4. And a lot of that, when I make that statement, a lot of that is just because I'm impressed with Darshan's improvement over the split. I think Hui's still playing good.
He maybe came down a little bit, but he's still good.
Yeah.
Hui's still playing good.
Yeah. And Darshan's playing much better. Like that CLG average thing where you're just like, oh, CLG like dies and dies in lane all the time and then pops off. Darshan for the most part has not died in lane and is just like popped off. Usually. And sure, maybe he overdives and does dumb stuff, but for the most part, his consistency is very good, or has been very good.
CLG
4.
Hand him the 4 spot. Lock it in, Josh.
All right.
And then that means Dignitas 5.
Yes.
Correct? I agree with this. I think, as much as we talked about Coach Cop before this, the team looks totally different from week 4. They actually make stuff happen. Chaser looks like a completely different jungler. Yeah, he's counter-ganking everywhere.
Chaser's like the main reason why he pushed this team up, because he is a lot of the reason why they're getting stuff happening early game and getting stuff happening mid-late game. Like, he has improved so much since the start of the split, and a lot of that has to maybe do with the coach. I don't know. I think determining coach relative effectiveness is impossible.
Yeah, it's almost impossible from the outside. What I'll say is that I heard the team environment was awful. The players were not happy, not even happy with each other, and it sounds like things have turned around, and they're actually working like a team. And that's the big thing, is like a jungler who's working on a dysfunctional team looks bad. Who knows why exactly all that was happening, but Chaser now, the team looks better. Obviously, some of that is Cop's influence, and Someday is still a rock, still a beast, arguably the best top laner in the league still.
I'm a little bit worried for them because they got solo killed in lane. Like, their bot lane is not good in lane. Outside of lane, they're fine. They're passable, and to maybe even good. Like, I think Xpecial plays with Chaser fairly well.
I think that's true. I think the jungle support combo well together, and I think Laud mechanically will play a lot of situations well. He's still a little bit of like sometimes brain farts where he'll just be under a turret he shouldn't be under, or like a little out of position. But as long as his positioning's in the right spot, he'll play the fights mechanically well.
I'm a little bit worried that the bot lane shifted to a meta where like laning is more important.
Yep.
Potentially that their bot lane bad laning can get abused. But aside from that, I think overall the team has gotten a lot better. I'm still a little bit worried for Keane.
Keane still scares me
because he'll have those games where you're just like, what is he doing? And then
if you get a bad Keane day, you might just lose the series.
Yes,
and you don't know what you're getting that day. I don't think there's any like. I've worked with Keane. I know people have worked with Keane. There's just like he's out there, dude. He just like this is good right now.
Okay, and then 6th place is Immortals. I think that they're a team that I would love to see more of. They have that thing where you're just like, they have the best early game. Or like, if their early game is like top 2.
Yeah.
And you're just so... early game doesn't... Like, if you can't close, obviously it sucks. But they're a team that... Their early game is so impressive, you have to give them some level of props. Like, we give Envy props for their great early game, even if they... And they can't close at all. Whereas Immortals can close to some degree, and their talent in that roster is just a lot better. You look at the improvement on their bot lane. I would say their bot lane is the most improved throughout the entire split. Up there...
Right, actually, I agree.
Yeah, both of them plus Chaser are the most improved, guaranteed, the entire split.
And I think the big thing, of course, is the fact that Pobelter stabilized. Because like if Pobelter, he also improved a lot. He's not. I still wouldn't put him top tier, like top half mids probably. I'd still say he's like mid bottom. But if he didn't stabilize from being the clear worst, this team goes nowhere. And sure, they didn't make the playoffs this split, but I think you see if there's one team to look out for coming into summer split, it's this team. Assuming that there's no big roster changes, which there still might be. But you have a top 5 bot lane, top 4 bot lane, a mid-level mid laner, a probably top half top laner. Like Flame, I have a hard time reading Flame.
It's really hard because when you look at the top lane talent and you start to realize that like
it's stacked.
It's really good. Like when we're saying like I'm saying Darshan played super well these last 3 weeks, and it's hard for me to fit him into the top 5. Like that's how you have to think about it. It's like Haunter's playing super well, right? You like Zig, you like Impact playing super well. You just look at all the top 5.
Someday, like Jesus
Someday
Christ.
is great, and so even getting into top 5 right now for top laners is an impressive situation.
Right. So I think it's a little hard to know how to place Flame, but you can say that he definitely started playing better. And the whole team now has solid lanes and an explosive, probably the most explosive jungler in the North American LCS in Dardoch.
Yeah, and the reason why he doesn't do great, why the team isn't ready to hire is because he's not consistent. Like he'll just kill himself.
Just watch the series today and count the times that Dardoch killed himself, and not just killed himself, but hurt the team's ability to make advantages. It's not like he went for a dive top and like, oops, I fucked it up and I died and fed 300 gold over. It's like my bot lane has a freeze. They can win the game right here if we make this play. Okay, the play didn't work. Now I'm forcing too hard and throwing away the lead.
Yeah, it's bad when it doesn't work, but he makes more good plays than not.
Right, he's that guy where you're playing with like weighted dice, but you like the dice is not great. It's still loaded. Like sometimes you lose. You're like, oh, what the hell? I thought I had good dice here.
Okay, I think that's the end of our power rankings for the day. These are all the standings for the end of the NALCS spring, where we got what the heck?
No, that's not this one. This is the start of the split.
Oh, this is the start of the split. Do we have the graphic up right now? Okay, so
oh god, Chuck, you want to join us? Because you've been here since the beginning, so you can help remember some moments for us. Because oh my god, some of these teams don't look like they're in the right place.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is we are going to recap the games, our power rankings from week 1, and look to see how they compare to week 10.
I don't know if we ever had a prediction segment.
No, we never did predictions. The first show that we did of this was during week 1, which is after we saw stuff. So
because what I was going to say is before the season had started, there were some speculation on teams like FlyQuest to be like really low, and so we put them at 3rd because they did way better than people ever expected them to.
Yes.
Right. So it's a little weird because it was week 1, and we're doing super reactive power rankings. So like we put FlyQuest 3, but in my heart I was like, FlyQuest is not the 3rd best team in the league. I still thought I put them as I think 8th on my personal power rankings, and they ended up 7th on
I say the same thing about Dignitas. Everyone overhyped this team after the playoffs. In the first week, they did great, but I was still like not sold because I've been on.
Yeah, I'm not saying me personally. I'm like, oh no, I never fucked up. I'm just saying that like generally these were not indicative of what we actually thought the power rankings would be. This is the power rankings after seeing a week of play. So keep that in mind. This is not our predictive power rankings. This is not us saying we thought Dignitas was going to finish 2. It was after one weekend of play.
We made 3 predictions that were close. So our C9, they're number 2.
Not predictions.
Yeah, these aren't predictions. So again, like this was based off
saying predictions. No predictions.
These we made 3 reactive power rankings that were
3
close.
teams ended up in the right place.
Yeah, to be honest, this graphic...
No teams ended up in the right place.
What?
Only 1 team.
Well, I meant like relatively.
Yeah. Relatively, 3 teams ended up in the right place.
What I was going to say is that this graphic's actually a little misleading because like what would be a better graphic was to see the kind of how everyone charted throughout the season, because this isn't to say like this is what we thought was going to happen. This is just our reactions to week 1, right? So it's a little misleading.
Do we have the chart thing? I know we had one for around the midweek. I assume we didn't get an updated one.
Didn't get an updated
whatever. So we
can talk about just the overall.
Yeah.
Flow
So we'll start with the 2 people who ended up basically where we thought they would: C9 and Envy. Envy. This was before Lear was even on the team. I don't know if people remember. Lear was not there at the start, and then when he did show up right away, there was a bit of a question mark of like, he wasn't bad, but it was like
he was not that good.
He was not destroying early games, and then he started crushing, but the team never actually could do anything. So I think a lot of us rated them low because of their carry potential. Their actual carries were just not very good, and they were inconsistent.
And does someone have an updated chart?
Tweet it at Josh. Tweet it at Xell Tweets.
Someone tweeted at me, and
he'll download it and get it up.
Yeah.
And we'll cover the teams that didn't move around that much while you look for that.
Right. And so let's go to the very top. C9. This is a roster that was like rock solid last year. Going in.
Oh, they're spamming it in chat. Maybe you want to.
It was the most unchanged in terms of the other rosters, and this is the thing that you just expected to be like the best.
And this is why...
And TSM fell off, right? Because they replaced Uplift, and so...
And they had a tough first week where they had to play C9. And they didn't look good when that happened. So C9 came out, looked really, really good week 1. Because, like you said, almost no turnover, just swapping out junglers. And he was a player that was kind of groomed for the position. And they knew he was going to come in. It wasn't like they grabbed a jungler last minute. So they get him. Contracts, they look good. They crush TSM, who we expected to be good as well. Which is why TSM ended up 5th that week. A little unfair for them, but Dignitas was the other one where I forget who they beat that week, and then they lost a close series to C9. So we thought C9 was super good, and because Dignitas beat, I think it was P1 or someone like kind of reasonable, and they crushed them.
I think the funniest thing is that we put P1 4th at the very first week.
Alright, this graph is really hard to read. I like the other guy's graph a lot better.
Yeah, this graph sucks ass. No, I'm kidding.
You got
there's no team logos anywhere.
Yeah, it's not very readable. I guess it's generally like the team logos colors.
Yeah, it's
I mean, you can read it.
Yeah, it's just not.
There's a lot of blue.
It's legible. Okay. Anyways, so
we'll start with C9, number 1 team. We're just hitting on them. They were consistent. And the problem was, the reason that they dropped down was because they didn't get better.
Yes.
Everyone else got better around them, and they were pretty much the same team the whole year. So TSM, you see shooting up the rankings, and C9's like, yeah, we're the same team. And like P1 got a little bit better. Yeah, we're the same team. So they end up number 2. Not too much to say about them.
Dig free fell. Essentially up until COP. I think that the upward trend is the COP curve. And
what week was?
I think it's 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
And so like ever since COP came up, they've just been like good.
Yeah. So week 1 was like, oh my god, how good are these guys? Week 2, I think they had some bad losses. I think week 3 they went 1-1. And then week 4 was like the Immortals game. And if you guys don't remember this game, go back and rewatch it if you ever want to go to bed, because it is the perfect put you to sleep game.
That was the worst game of the split.
That was the worst game I've ever seen, I think. It was
far.
a team with a lead, with like a split push comp who didn't split push, slowly lost the game and just gave everything up. And then the COP effect happens where it's mostly upward trajectory, minus a little bit of a hiccup in week 8.
The third team on the list going down is Echo Fox. And they had a really high start with Acadian popping off. The colors are very similar.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
It's misordered on the bottom too.
So what's really funny is Echo Fox. Wait, didn't our power ranking have them lower than 3 at the start of the split? This thing isn't even right.
Yeah, wait. Echo Fox.
Echo Fox is like 9
in the beginning. Or wait, is that Brown the Echo Fox?
Is Brown Echo Fox?
Wait, then what's that? What's the thing I can't read?
That's FlyQuest. 3 is FlyQuest.
Oh, are you serious?
Oh,
yeah.
I thought number.
Okay, actually, I love to talk about FlyQuest because this was a team that through the first 4 weeks, I think they were through the first 4 weeks they were like 1-6, 6-1, and then they lost another game. They ended up 6-2, and then after that they went 1-6. So we were like, oh yeah, they're good. And then like week 5, I think they went 1-1 against Envy with like a Mordekaiser, and we're like, oh, they're trolling, they're doing weird stuff. Who cares? And then week 6 hits, or week 7 hits, and they go 0-2, and it's like, dude, these guys have won 1 series in the last 2 weeks, and that's when like reality set in that these guys are not legitimate.
Yeah, it was not enjoyable.
They were legitimate, like, not serious contenders. And because of their background of us expecting them to be bad and them being so consistently good through the first 4 weeks, they bought a lot of goodwill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it was like you didn't want to doubt them.
They definitely did. For me, at least, remember at the very start of the season, I said I was watching 3 teams. I was watching Echo Fox, FlyQuest, and CLG. And those are the 3 teams I was going to try to cheer on the split. What happened to all 3 of my teams? They just went boom.
Yeah.
And except for CLG, which kind of placed kind of around where I expected them to place.
Yep.
Everything else was just maybe I jinxed them. Maybe because I said
no. I think FlyQuest had a better grasp of the pick ban meta, because if you remember during this time when they were really good, there was the 3 OP bans. And everyone who did that gave up Kha'Zix for free and lost the game, basically. Red side had a bad win rate, and it had a higher win rate when you did not ban the 3 OPs. And FlyQuest was the one team in North America who was really against banning the 3 OPs. They got a lot of leads through that.
Yeah, and they exploited a lot of teams there.
And a lot of teams weren't coordinated. And high shot calling isn't awful. It's just really aggressive. So they got a lot of wins. And then when teams started figuring stuff out, FlyQuest was starting to tank because they were going way too crazy with their picks. The meta was changing,
and they never improved. Like
Alltech said. So that's reality came and slapped them in the face hard.
P1's really interesting because we thought
never drop below 5th.
Yeah, we thought they were really good, and then at some point I was just like, oh, they're not that good. But then Meteos stepped in, and we were just like, I guess they're okay. And then the more I saw Meteos and Arrow, the more I was like, wow, they have Arrow. And wow, Meteos is pretty good.
Yeah, at the start of the split, it was actually more about Inori and Ryu, where we knew Arrow was good, but it was like, wow, Inori gets a lot of big early leads, and Ryu's a big playmaker, and these guys make stuff happen and win games.
Oh, I think the biggest thing is actually our identification of Zig as a carry player started becoming more and more obvious. Zig was
in the second half.
Yes, yeah. Zig was like pretty under the radar, probably the most underrated player going into the start of the split, and he was most improved from offseason. Probably one of the most improved.
Yep, for sure.
I would love it if someone actually went in and told us like when people did those changes. Like I would love to see exactly when Meteos got in and how it affected. Like Coach Cobb, when did that happen? Like,
yeah, Coach Cobb's week 5. I remember that because week 4 was the Immortals one. It was like kill me.
Yeah.
And then week 5 was like Cobb's here 2-0. Hey, funny. And then it's like actually they're becoming better.
TSM was a really funny one. They started out terrible. Like there's nothing.
They weren't terrible.
5th isn't terrible.
No, they played C9 week 1. They played another team, and they went to 3 games, which we were going to learn over time was like kind of their thing.
I guess that's the thing. It's because they struggled against a lot of teams that we thought that they wouldn't. Like in the end, it's just like they just like to play 3 games. It's like their style.
Yeah. So like the first they didn't tell us that was what they were about. We didn't know that was their lifestyle.
I didn't understand stylistically what they were about. But then like once we got into like weeks 5, I was just like, oh, this is just how they like to play.
Yeah, and I think they lost to Echo Fox in week 4, I think it was. And that was kind of the thing where we were like really hit or miss on Echo Fox because they had the 2-0 week thing going on, so we thought they were bad. And then they beat TSM that week, so we're like, okay, maybe TSM's not that good. And then TSM beats C9 the next week, and then from then on, we're like, we get it now. We get it.
I think the Echo Fox thing is really funny because they talked about how like the odd weeks are always bad. The
odd weeks are bad.
No, the Echo Fox thing was literally the first 4 weeks. Acadian played like the best jungler we've ever seen, essentially. Just look at the upward trajectory. It starts at 9.
Look at that doo-doo Brown.
Yeah, it goes from 9 to like 3. And that's almost strictly off of the fact that Acadian had games where you were just like, oh, he's 9-0 on Graves. Or, oh, he's like...
Kha'Zix is like 11-3.
Yeah, his Rengar is like 7-2. It's like insane.
And then the meta kind of changed for them. Froggen looked really good. Looper also looked better during this time. His Singed and Swain were like doing big shit.
Yeah. And I was really hyping up Looper. I'm like, oh, and even Acadian was telling me like, this is the guy you always want to play with. Like, he's great. And then eventually he just kind of fell off.
Yeah, I think he never found a way to really synergize with a team where it's like, this is what they want me to do. Other than Acadian and him had really good synergy for First Bloods and stuff like that, but it did not, you know, it wasn't like a real like, oh, and then we frontline well together. It's like, no, then you guys become awful at frontlining.
All right, we've been jumping all around.
No, we were pretty good until we got to poop.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Team Liquid. This one's pretty depressing. Start 6th, and it just keeps...
So they beat CLG, who we figured would be okay. Yeah. It was a close series. They had a big comeback, and you're like, wow, this team can finally come back from stuff. And then they lost to FlyQuest, and we thought maybe FlyQuest is all right.
Yeah.
And then like it was the opposite of TSM. It's like literally the opposite of TSM actually. One starts 5, one starts 6. In reality, slowly sinks in where it's like, no wait, TSM's actually really good. And it's like, wait, TL's actually just fucking garbage.
Yeah,
TL
like
is just hot mess.
Really bad. To be fair, I don't think the chart accurately describes when Rainover got better. I think Rainover was playing really bad early. Like the meta was really off for him, and he was just like actually like hard feeding some of his games.
And Lorlo was being a beast. Lorlo for like the first 2 or 3 weeks was like arguably one of the best.
Year of the Lorlo is
the year of the Lorlo
still
was like,
the best.
Hey, yeah.
Oh god.
That was just funny. People took that shit way too seriously.
I thought it was funny too. Okay. Moving on is CLG.
Well, you're not going to talk more about TL, man. Just going to leave it at that.
I don't want to.
I think it's funny that they put in like week 6 is when they started doing all those changes and it did nothing. There was like we talk about, you know, Josh was like, where were those roster changes for everyone else?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, there's where Cop came in.
It starts trending up.
And here's Medios.
That's Doublelift,
season
Adrian.
Yeah, every week it's like there's Youngbin, there's Doublelift, Adrian,
Mid Piglet, Kane,
yeah,
and then it doesn't change it.
Yeah, nothing changes.
That's depressing.
Yeah, kind of sad. Anyways, you can go to CLG.
Sorry, I didn't want to really cover the depressing stuff. I feel like
I love that.
We talk about
that's
TL so much.
We're
just like, it's like saying TL is a bad team. It's like just saying the sky is blue. Like you're not getting anywhere with it. It's like this. It's the lowest hanging fruit possible.
Yeah. I thought you said you wanted to move on to CLG.
Let's go to CLG.
Oh, okay. CLG. So they start off really bad, which was a real nightmare situation because they're one of the teams like C9 with a roster that came back fresh, and this is a roster that's worked together for years. And so we believed in them to be better, but they started off so bad early. Roster you expect to start off really well.
It was really wonky where Darshan looked terrible, Stixay looked all right, and Smithy looked god-awful. Huhi looked really good. And like they were just crushing on.
And Afromu was hard feeding.
Afromu was awful.
Actually hard feeding.
They had but jungle and support looked like 2 of the worst players in the league. With Huhi like looking good and Stixay looking fine.
Which is crazy because before the Smithy was the most consistent player for CLG, and Afromu was like the all-star like MVP candidate for support.
Yeah.
And it like around that week 4 mark is when Darshan started stepping up in particular, and after that slowly Smithy started figuring it out a little bit more as well.
I think it's also when Afromu started having not bad games. Like he still fed like 1 game out of 5, but I think that's okay. As opposed to feeding every other game.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's also when their level 1 started looking better. That's also when Miles walks in the door.
Hello.
Hey, it's your boy Miles.
Are you still doing the show?
Yeah, we're wrapping. It was a long day at LCS.
There was 2 like 70-minute games, so
it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Anyways, CLG, they improved. It's what you expect with CLG. They always kind of, since they went from the team that started good and started sucking, they switched to the team that does kind of mediocre and picks it up.
They basically have the identical graph as TSM. Actually.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, just
whoa. Yeah.
And like the one time that Echo Fox both TSM and CLG go down is because Echo Fox spiked really hard upwards.
Yeah, because they beat TSM.
Yeah. So honestly, it looks like for both those teams, they just kind of got better. I wonder.
And
coaching.
I was about to say, I think one of the hallmarks of good coaching is like constant improvement for a team. So I think you see that with obviously CLG and TSM. No surprise, 2 of the best infrastructure teams in the league. C9 didn't improve, but they also didn't get much worse. Like there's a lot of teams that start number 1, like a Dignitas, like a CLG in the past, and then tank really hard. They didn't ever tank. It's just like they didn't seem to figure out how to exploit their strengths.
P1 is your coach Fly that you always hype
I love
up.
Fly, my boy.
And he like apparently has done very well with a team that I didn't necessarily expect to do that well just based on the off-season roster changes.
Yep. So I think that's a great point about the coaches.
Okay, so let's talk about Immortals, which are like.
So this is a weird one to me.
Inconsistency, right? Like, isn't that the thing that jumps out?
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, we were just talking about coaches, and do you blame them or not? Like, I think Hermes actually did a good job with the team, and Dodo's still there.
I think their bowling improved a lot over the course of the split. They were just never able to fully come together with everything. You know? Until almost the very end.
I think they came together at the end. The problem is that their team is inherently inconsistent. It's not like you coach the inconsistency out of this team. It's like you don't make Dardoch not be Dardoch. Like he's gonna be Dardoch.
Don't invade blind.
Like, but like between week 5, week 6, and week 7, that's not like they got worse as a team. It was just like the Dardoch effect happened, and they lost to Envy and TL, the 2 worst teams in the league. That's what happened in week 6.
Yeah, when we played some 10th, you made fun of me, and I was just like...
I didn't think they should be 10th, by the way. I was like, this is crazy. This is Dardoch.
I just did that to motivate them, of course.
That's what you said. So the 2 times that they were ranked 10th, you see them shoot right back up to 6th.
Yeah. So
and those were 2 times that you were pretty adamant that they should be 10th.
So I just... If any Immortals fans out there, like... You should have prayed that we put them 10th on week 8 so that they can actually make playoffs.
Yeah, and I think... I think maybe you missed it. Like, this is just the nature of Immortals and like Dardoch, where like they're gonna lose some games horribly, but you can't read too far into them. Just like you can't read too far into their wins. Like, yeah, they beat C9. Don't read too far into
anyone with
it. Like when they pop off, they will beat anybody in the league. And it's just, can they put together 2 out of 3 games of pop-offs?
Well, we talked about FlyQuest. We skipped to them earlier. So the only last team we have is Envy, which started 10th. Oh, this looks fantastic.
I like this one more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little text-heavy, but fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, it started 10th. I'm surprised they had the actual text for Cloud9 and Echo Fox.
Yeah, that would have been nice if they cut that off.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of constructive criticism.
Who are we paying for this one?
Oh, we don't pay anybody. Ask Josh.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. If that guy gets paid before me...
wait. Speaking of graphic designers getting paid before Josh, the guy who makes all our logos.
Yeah.
Okay. True. So Envy, they started 10th, they ended 10th. Their biggest improvement was the 1 week they beat Immortals.
When did Lyra come in?
Lyra came in week
3 or 2?
Week 3 or week 2, but like I think the second week that he showed up, he was like still really
not good.
Yeah, he was like tired. It was like 1 week, no practice. Like just not in a good state. The same way that when Ole first showed up, he was in a really bad state as well. Which is when, Immortals kind of looked their worst. But I don't really think there's that much to say about Envy. I mean, we've talked about this team enough. They just can't win games. And there were times where like, around week 6, 7, or 5, 6, excuse me, where like we were convinced enough by their early game that we were like, man, maybe this team can figure it out. But then...
And then you're just like, no, they just don't know how to win
physically
games.
can't win games. So, I mean, overall, it was a really crazy season. Not just in terms of like how teams went up and down and like the games, but like the storylines, like Dark Meteos, TL Double Lift.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a lot of zaniness in this split versus
I think
the other
in
ones.
terms of storylines, in terms of entertainment, this is one of the best splits ever. In terms of game quality, from the overall league, they're very close. The very high end, the quality is not very good. That's just the general opinion.
Yeah,
right. I would say
the top end feels worse, but overall the games feel more competitive.
Right. Like if you took the TSM and Immortals from summer split last year, that's your 1-2 team easy.
Yeah, they stomp everyone here.
Yeah, and C9's a close, like not that close of a third. But I think if you look at P1 and Echo Fox from last year and bring them into this as well, they're clear worse teams also.
Yeah.
So I think the league was much more, bipolar last split. And I think the craziest thing was that heading into the final day of the final week, C9 could still have gotten first. Envy could have got out of...
There's a potential 4 or 5-way tiebreaker for just today.
Just to get into playoffs. Yeah. Like TL might not have gotten relegated. Envy might not have gotten relegated coming to the last week. And P1 could have gotten the first round bye after C9 looked so good. Everything was fucking nuts in the last week, which is something we usually don't get to say because it is so just like such disparity.
It's so easy.
Yeah, it's just like, who wants to watch the worst matchup,
I just look at the P1 line, I'm just like, okay, what happened week 8, man?
Week 8?
He just lost the P1 logo. It's just gone.
Yeah, wait.
I mean,
to be fair, like the TL logo, despite being 8, every time is not, or 9 every time is not like the same height on any of them.
Yeah, it just went in.
Like the y-axis is not even close. Like,
Holy shit!
Yeah.
hey, we take free stuff. We're not going to
Yeah,
complain. Like,
we're
we'll, like, thank you for making the art, but we're going to make fun of it a little bit. But
Yeah.
we still appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate
And
it.
this is how you get me, because you guys just make fun of me.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I appreciate Josh.
We appreciate Josh, but not with money.
Wait, the P1. Wait, I just noticed.
Oh
that.
yeah, it's twice on
The
9.
P1 is actually just gone. That's why.
No,
It's
it's
on
twice on 9.
Yeah.
It just fell. It like slipped down the
Yeah,
slope.
he's like, wait, we were supposed to be 8.
Okay. So, are you guys done talking about power rankings?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
You want to rap or you want to talk about anything else?
No, well, like, okay, so the real question is, we never really talked about this, so we might as well just talk about it to wrap up the show. We usually don't do predictive segments. However, going to playoffs, we really only have, like, one match. Predicting 10 teams is kind of dumb. It takes,
Right, I see what you're saying.
It takes a ton of time, but the idea is that we could potentially predict the week before the 2 matches or the 1 match that plays the week after.
So here's what...
Would you like to do that?
I think here's what we were thinking a little bit before as well, was the fact that given that there will be no power rankings during the playoffs, and we'll probably still do QA sections, but because we're only covering 1 series, I think it's fine to do predictive of the next day's games whenever that occurs. So we can do the promo tourney, no predictions for next week, but then at the end of the promo tourney on Sunday, instead of doing power rankings, we'll do a prediction on the first series played in playoffs.
Got it.
And then at the end of every day, we'll do the next one.
Right, and
Yeah,
that's
just
probably
talk about the head-to-head match.
Yeah, that's probably better for me because my predictions. We're not doing predictions for the.
No, fuck promo tourney.
Yeah, the promo tourney because
Even though I don't mean fuck it like it's not interesting. I just mean like Scarra hasn't watched Challenger. It's
I
gonna be
don't
useless.
watch Challenger at all. So like my literally my analysis is gonna be Lyra's gonna stomp some kids. Like you're gonna watch Lyra.
I don't even know what kids he's up against, but they're gonna be in the ground. They're in the ground.
Like Lyra is gonna like dumpster some kids. I remember talking to Brokenshard about this on my other show, and he was just like, the one team where I kind of worried about is like at any point Lyra could just pop off against anyone. And I'm just like, he's right.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna.
Yeah.
He has consistently crushed for about 6 weeks in a row in the LCS against everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is very good. But I guess that's it. Thank you guys for watching. This is our last power rankings for Spring Split, and this concludes our Spring Split
Coverage.
for post league time.
And we will be doing PLT for the promo tourney. Even though Scar hasn't watched a ton of it, we're just not doing predictive stuff. We'll react to the matches and all that. We'll have PLTs for those. There are matches on Friday. I don't know if you want to do Friday PLTs. It's up to you. We'll talk about this, I guess, a little bit going forward.
Talk about it.
We'll obviously be doing them for the playoffs as well. VOD comes up tomorrow on Scar's YouTube channel, and the Soundcloud comes up Tuesday. So make sure to follow those. They're in the rotating banner. At some point, you'll see them. It's just /post league time at the end of everything for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and SoundCloud. And Scar's YouTube is
Scarra Official.
Scarra Official.
Excellent. Awards we might do at the end of playoffs.
I think at the very, very end, we can start talking about, finality. Like,
I think until then, it's more interesting to like just talk about the
right. And so what I'll say is when we do go back and do the awards, I think we should do it based off regular season. I don't think a player's MVP for performance should play in the postseason.
Ooh, that's gonna be tough because
then you just
fresh in our mind.
I know. But
when Bjerg goes and smashes,
you're gonna cut out 40% of the team's player base if you include playoffs.
Okay.
And I agree, it would be nice to do it right now, but we don't really have a show time to do it.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll figure it out.
We will figure it out and keep you guys checked.
All right.
You'll check in.
Yeah, you'll check in.
Yeah, we don't check in with you. You check in with us.
Something like that.
End screen.